Okay, so the live stream's running, so we make sure everything's good.
Thank you, ma'am.
I don't know.
5 minutes, huh?
Does not look familiar. Pictures. That's this is the airport terminal. That's somebody's home. And then we got
We didn't even cut the trees.
oh yeah.
Wait a minute. But, Mr. Computer Man, this is not what I'm used to, so please tell me where I can go to safely eject that. Because I'm used to having things over here where on a start menu that I can see it.
I just went to the file.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
And if you scroll down on the side,
No, it was good. What about you?
Then I got it. That's what I did. Thank you very much. Trust me. I'm an old school guy. This is just a fancy typewriter.
I've just about given up on Windows
Okay.
and the way they
Yes,
just
sir.
started scrambling everything every release. It's just,
Yes, sir.
It was good. Of course, the weather was crazy.
Goodness. But you know, I'm
We need
saying,
rain so bad.
just being able to sit there and just work, just being able to
Yeah, it kind of rejuvenates you and
rejuvenate,
regroup.
reset.
Yep,
Yes, ma'am.
all good.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna turn the lights back on. So
yeah, you threw lights down.
Okay.
Chief, you got through the lights down.
You mind?
And I'll show you.
There we go. Gosh, they're real bright now.
Yeah.
your ankle. It's there. It's hard to gauge because with the neurostimulator in, it blocks a lot of the pain. But like when I'm in the shower and if it move it,
I don't even know if
add
this
it
is
lets
gonna
me
work.
know.
I left my other laptop at my
I'm
house.
still broke.
Anyway. I can do it. I just didn't want to call it or you. You got it. Thank you. I'm
Maybe it'll make me
sorry.
smarter. If I hit my head.
I don't think this will last.
It's okay.
Just depends.
Literally down in the trenches sometimes.
It's for the sole purpose of my report and the agenda.
Well, your report. You need it. Well, I got it to pick the access. She got it done. Lord have mercy. So I posted it outside. I posted it on the web, and I got to send out
Everybody gets to talk before
the agenda tonight to the board. Even though my note says to me to do the P&Z.
We don't follow that.
She'll have the post. Okay, that'll work.
I didn't read this big long thing though. There were two additional items I listed on my agenda. Okay. That were not.
I think it's hazelnut.
You're right.
This right here That's probably copy. This is what Mayor Bob.
Okay.
The road right there, the red one.
Council, this is the last finger, and this is pictures of the airport.
Not using the side.
Trailer.
Yeah, we'll discuss it, I guess.
Is it the only red one?
Anyway, they each have.
Oh, no.
Let me see.
There's all of South Station Oaks. The road to the airport. That one. But my concern is,
So there, y'all heard me, there's snacks behind there.
and is that taking it all the way down to the base and redoing it?
Yeah, you need 2 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Just the canal fleet washes it out.
They're all pretty yellow.
Fellow council members,
Okay, it's 6 p.m. We're gonna call it.
can I show you something? Do you remember my issue about being able to see the screen? My fellow councilman right here for Christmas gave me a pair of binoculars so I could view the material without having to have a larger display. And I really want to thank you for that consideration, but I don't consider that.
I did not put them up.
I don't-
That sounds great. Problem solved.
What?
Let's call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Okay, and let me look here. Where am I at here?
Roll call.
All right, let's do a roll call right on down the line.
Sheena Martinez, District 1.
Houston Marchman, District 2.
Bill King, District 3.
David Mers Jr. for District 4.
Robert Lee, District 5.
Bruce Alexander, Mayor. All right, let's all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go here. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay. Pastor Doug, would you like to say an invocation for us, please?
Heavenly Father, we thank you, we praise you. We just ask that your peace would fall upon Castroville, Father God. We ask for your peace upon the board, Father, in the meeting tonight, and that your wisdom and your guidance and your leading would lead in everything that the council does, Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. All right. Let's move on to, just a moment, excuse me, get my paper straight. Let's move on to citizens' comments. The city council will hear comments speak clearly into the microphone and state your name. Speakers will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes for testimony. In accordance with the State Open Meetings Act, the council is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Action can only be taken at a future meeting. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Priscilla Garrett, 702 Florence. Finally, discussion about the City Hall trees. For years, the front of City Hall was maintained by Castroville Garden Club. Since their closure, the chore was moved to the park crew, and I have continued to assist them. But the sprinkler system has never worked properly, and that, coupled with the water problem, makes it next to impossible to keep anything, plants or trees, watered sufficiently to keep them alive. They are dropping leaves continuously because of insufficient water and the heat, which makes it hard to either blow or rake the leaves from the mulch that has been put down. They have become a nuisance. They block and are again, because of their regrowth having been cut back, beginning to scrape the front of the building, and they hide arguably the best part of the building. They were trimmed back because of that and have not really grown back in a good way and are beginning to show signs of dead wood. If the discussion tonight is about take them out or leave them, I would urge you to take them out and look at some kind of pavers or such to go in the area where maybe benches or something like that could be placed. Sure would look a lot better. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at citizens' comments?
Arnie DeLacy, 109 River Bluff. This is more like a public service announcement than anything else. just letting the world know out there. On Tuesday, January the 27th at 9 a.m. at the Hillside Boutique Hotel, Go Medina will host a guest speaker who is with Rowan Data Center, which is being constructed just outside of Lytle towards Natalia. Presentation will focus on misconceptions regarding water and electric use at the data centers, tax base and local impacts, and other pertinent information. A similar presentation will be offered at the Wednesday, February 4th, Castroville Area Chamber of Commerce monthly meeting luncheon, which will be held at the American Legion Post 460 in Castroville at the corner of Fiorella and Paris Streets. More information will be available through those entities in the near future. Thanks.
Could you tell me the name of the person again? I'm sorry, I missed
I
it.
do not know the name of the
Oh,
person. The business is Rowan, R-O-W-A-N, Data Center.
Okay.
I can get you that information. Also, just want to make a point that the city of Castroville is sponsoring that meeting of Go Medina, the 27th.
Yeah, and
So-
everybody that's Go Medina is invited, their members.
Yes.
Bring guests. But Hillside can handle maybe in that ballroom,
Date on Hillside.
27 January.
65 people or something at most, so 300 show up.
No, they've remodeled and they have a pretty good sized room.
Yes.
They're doing that.
But if all the membership alone came, there's like 320 members.
Yeah.
Go Medina. So they wouldn't
Okay.
fit anyone.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to make citizen comments? Hearing none, let's move on to the consent agenda item, which is the minutes for December 16th, 2025 special call meeting, the library advisory board chairman's resignation, and to appoint members to the library board and the P&Z. Authorize a resolution approving criminal justice vehicle grant, authorize a resolution approving rifle body armor grant, and authorize a resolution approving breach tool and shield. Is there any motions?
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the consent agenda items. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? No, motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Let's move over here to the mayor's report. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Let's move over here to the mayor's report. I have three things I just want to make comments on, and bear with me, please. The first one, I'm going to read a letter that was sent to me from a citizen and former city council member in appreciation of the services provided by Public Works staff over the Christmas holiday. Dear Mr. Mayor, late on the evening of Christmas Day, the tenants of my rental house at 901 Gentile started experiencing flickering and dimming lights throughout their house. They called City Public Works and a team responded immediately to check the power transformer. They determined it was okay, and I contacted my electrician. The problem was not obvious, and several additional electrical checks were made over the course of the Christmas weekend by both city and contractor electricians. The HVAC heater stopped working, and the dual wall ovens and microwave were destroyed by overvoltage. Shortly after midnight on Monday, December 29th, the problem had become so serious that the tenants sent their son to stay with friends because they feared an electrical fire might start. On Tuesday morning, the city electrician and my contractor electrician met at the power pole and diagnosed the problem as an approximate 100-foot long burned out main aluminum neutral wire going under the foundation from the power pole to the main fuse box in my garage. They ran a temporary cable around the house to the garage to restore the power. 3 new copper cables were installed today through the attic to the garage. I want to thank Mr. Scott Dixon, the city administrator, and all the public works electricians and supervisors for their multiple quick responses and for their assistance to my contractor electrician making the diagnosis and repairs. They responded at night on Christmas Day and several times on the following Christmas weekend. They were very courteous and professional. I ask that you recognize each of them for the outstanding work to help Castroville citizens in desperate need. Sincerely, Herbert Dyer. And I just want to throw my 2 cents worth in too. Thanks for everything the public work is done to help with this and everyone else. And really pass the thanks to all the city employees that do what they need to do to help make things better for all of us. All right. Next thing I want to make a comment on is live streaming policies and procedures. I thought about this one, and I just want to make a few comments. In late December, because I want to make sure that everybody's fully clear and we be as transparent as possible on everything we do. In late December, there was an unprofessional conversation between two senior city employees that was inadvertently live streamed following a zoning board of adjustments meeting. The incident has been documented and appropriate action has been taken. This incident should be a reminder to all city staff that words matter, and as a city employee, your public position on an issue should always reflect the best interests of the city. As a way to ensure that this type of issue does not happen again, I'm working with the city administrator, Scott Dixon, to develop procedures on how to manage live stream recordings to include clear guidance on when the live stream is to be activated and when it is to be turned off following the adjournment of a public meeting. As a reminder to members of the City of Castroville advisory boards and commissions, all meetings are open to the public and subject to the Open Meetings Act in accordance with the City of Castroville Code of Ordinances. Except for items discussed by council in an executive session, all recordings and documents associated with the meeting are considered permanent records of the city, subject to public review upon request. I remain hopeful that the two advisory boards that continue to have meetings away from City Hall will move their monthly meetings to City Hall so they can also be live streamed, and the public would have an opportunity to view the meetings in real time or later at the public's convenience. This is imperative for members of the public to better understand the items being discussed as recommendations to City Council for consideration and appropriate action. The next one I wanted to touch base on is my view for a 2026 forecast. And bear with me on this if you would please, because some of these we haven't fleshed out yet, but I'm just giving you my view on how we move forward. The new year brings opportunities for the city to move forward with protecting the historic values of Castroville while managing growth that minimizes changes to our community. While there isn't much we can do to change the growth that has come to our city over the last several years, we can turn a page and, in my opinion, do a better job in protecting Castroville from development that may not be in the best interest of the city as a whole. While some growth in some areas is important to generate additional revenues to cover the rising costs of operating the city, it should follow our established rules and regulations that has made Castroville what it is and not be in a rush to change anything for the benefit of a developer that may not have the best interests of the city at heart. As we move forward, City Council will be meeting to develop a plan of action on what our vision of the city is and how we plan to get there. I renew my request for advisory boards and commissions to review the rules, regulations, and ordinances of the city that pertain to the area they provide advice on and provide suggestions on changes and updates that can be forwarded for legal review and presented to City Council for adoption. The Airport Advisory Board is already doing this with Chapter 18 of the Castroville Code of Ordinances. I applaud them for doing this and hope that other advisory boards and commissions will get on board with this project. As you can see from the items listed on the city administrator's report on this agenda, there are many unfinished items being reported on. Some of these items have been items for discussion with little or no action for more than a year. My goal is to work through the city administrator and city council to prioritize these projects and complete as many of these as possible and remove them from the list as an ongoing project. Last month, City Council appointed a liaison to the Chamber of Commerce. At a meeting with the Chamber Board of Directors last month, it was proposed that the city enter into an agreement with the Chamber to provide occupancy tax revenues to support travel, tourism, and economic development designed to promote overnight stays in Castroville. I asked them to provide the city a proposal for the city to review and take to city council for consideration. The city had this type of arrangement with the chamber many years ago. I believe we can revive that type of working relationship with the city providing financial support for the chamber through the use of occupancy taxes collected by the city. Later this month, City Council will meet to discuss updates to the capital improvement plan. One big item for discussion is how the city spends the more than $3.5 million the city received in September 2025 as part of the certificates of obligation issued by the city. Virtually everything is on the table for discussion on how these funds are used. I encourage anyone interested in how these funds are used to share your thoughts with your respective city council members. A goal will be to finalize use of these funds and move on with approved projects. As the city moves forward in the new year, we will continue to rely on our staff for their knowledge and expertise, as well as accept advice from the citizens of Castroville in working together for the betterment of our community. I call on everyone to contact your city council member, myself, and/or the city administrator if you have any questions, comments, advice, or concerns on anything that can help city council make informed decisions in support of everyone that makes the city of Castroville their home. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item 8, discussion and action items. The first one is A, discussion and appropriate action to authorize a ground lease with Brass T4 Ranch LLC at the Castroville Municipal Airport. It's my understanding, or excuse me, my memory, I believe, City Council took action to direct staff to negotiate a lease, take it to the airport board for review and consent, and bring it back to City Council for consideration. That process has been followed, and now it's presented to City Council. And I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve term and rates for the Brass Hangar ground lease.
I second.
Okay, motion made and second to approve the lease as presented.
Yes.
Am I correct? Okay, now we're going to open up for discussion. Let's start with you, Mr. Lee.
You know, I have a few items. I do not believe you guys hearing on this? Is it working? I don't believe the Airport Advisory Board had other leases to look at to compare. I don't know that for a fact. I know that the city's been working with getting a master lease from New Braunfels to see how they handle things. I got a copy of that and compared our proposed lease for Brask with what that airport did. And I also called some other airports. I called the city of San Antonio. I talked to Hondo and to find out how they handle some of the things that I had questions about. I'd like to read my comments. I don't know that I sent them to you. But the proposed lease looks very much like the previous one. It is a bad deal for our airport. We need to take the same approach developers take with us. It's our ball game at the airport, not anyone else's. If they agree to our dictated terms, fine. If not, someone else will down the line. We need to keep the price per square foot the same for all the property that's being leased. Hondo and New Braunfels do that, and they charge a flat 25 cents per square foot. They don't break it down for the ramp area or the apron outside in the hangar. They just charge a straight 25 cents a square foot. The lease rate needs to renew every year based on CPI. New Braunfels does that to ensure they keep the revenue stream consistent with price increases that the airport must pay for services. That keeps the value of the dollar the same for everyone. An alternative to be considered would be every 3 years. An increase would be the cumulative CPI for the past 3 years plus 1% to account for lost revenue. If requested, at the end of the 40-year term, 2 5-year extensions of the contract could be considered. And that would need to be, and this I got from other airports, get a FAA-compliant evaluation, preferred by a certified airport appraiser, for the fair market value of the airport property at the beginning of any extensions beyond 40 years. And then the increases will be yearly or once every 3, based on CPI. This is completely in line with FAA fair market value assessment of airport facilities. Lease rates should be in line with current Castroville hangars at that time. Any changes to the lease, and these are things I picked out after reading our lease. I didn't think we had enough detail on some of them. Any changes to the lease, be it hangar modifications or any change of ownership, change to a non-aviation or anything other than that that is going in to this proposal or anything like that needs to go through city council in the package. It still goes to only the city administrator. The council needs to be aware of the business dealings of all the phases of the city, so they need to be the ones that make approval to changes. The statement needs to be put in the lease about vehicles outside of the hangar, that they must be operable. And we need to determine if we want to handle an issue like trailers that they can park outside of the hangar. We've had issues in the past with heavy winds. People had trailers outside of their hangars, and the trailers, they started going places and hitting things. And so something to be considered. And I bring up the issue about operable vehicles because outside the Skydiver hangar, they have a inoperable vehicle that's been parked there for some time. The business on fuel continues to be in there. We need to put in there, if they provide their own fuel, they will pay a flowage fee. This is completely standard across airports, and it may not be best located next to their hangar because of flammability issues. The statement in section 4 about real estate taxes needs to come out. And I asked it to have that done before. I'm not sure why it's even in there. If in the first place, if there's a law that exempts them, then we don't need to repeat it in our contract. So I recommend we remove that. We really don't say much about environmental issues, about storage or cleanup of hazardous materials and liquids and things like that that could be put us at financial risk. I don't know how many of you know that, but we got into that situation before and had a large hangar, the one the ag guys are in now at the end, that sat empty for a year because of an issue of spill chemicals. The person in the hangar went bankrupt, they left, there wasn't anything we could do with them. Estimates are up to $50,000 to clean that up at our expense. And so it needs to be clearly spelled out in the lease. I understand there's a possibility there might be a drainage issue associated with the installation of that hangar. We need a statement in there if the placement of their hangar, which is unidentified to this point, creates drainage issues affecting other uses of the airport. They are responsible to pay for those corrections. Utilities are required to be relocated because of placement of their hangar. They need to be liable for that cost. We need language that specifies what color they can use for the hangar, either be the current one they have or to blend in with all the other hangars being earth colored. If you've ever seen an airport that has multicolored hangars everywhere, it really looks terrible. There is yet to be any dimensions given or placement of the hangar. I would not approve them doing anything until we know exactly what they want to do and where they want to do it. That all needs to be approved by council, and it's not presented in this package. Same comment I made before. We would be complete fools if we approve them doing something before we know exactly what it is they want to do and where they want to do it. We need to stop giving sweetheart deals to people that we deal with and operate like a business instead of a city begging for business. I did a computation on what I understood from talking to Mr. Haley. Right now, it's every 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, we take that year's CPI and we add it to the basic ground fee that was paid for the first 5 or the previous 5. Maybe it was 3%. We add that 3%, and that goes to the next 5 years. And at the end of that 5 years, we do the same thing again. I did the calculations on a yearly CPI increase versus doing every 5 years and only raising it that year's CPI at the end of 5 years. The difference between the figures was astounding. And I have the sheets with copious computations on it if anybody would like to look at them. And so I took the 3% per year for every year. The difference between doing a CPI every year and or doing it as proposed in this lease was $84,901. That's for a 30-year lease, not a 40. In my opinion, the airport could use that $84,901 and not give it away. And so the terms that I see in our lease right now are not agreeable because we're basically punishing our airport again. My recommendation is do not approve this and agree on lease increase terms. Some of the above issues I've mentioned, and have the attorney compare our lease with those such as New Braunfels, ensure our interests are covered, such as hazardous chemicals or mortgage company taking possession of building costs and things like that. Have brass give us a general diagram with the measurements, exactly what they want and where. determine if underground water and electrical need to be moved, and determine if drainage corrections need to be made. And that could probably be done by the end of this month.
Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Murs?
I share Mr. Lee's reservations about the CPI adjustment happening every 5 years. Even if that's applying the cumulative CPI from each of the 5 years, that's still leaving a lot of money on the table that was not collected during those intervening years. That's all. I don't have
Thank you.
as much on this one as he
Mr.
does.
King? Any comments?
Well, I agree with, I guess, every commercial lease I've ever entered into, CPI was adjusted yearly. And of course, it doesn't apply here, but property taxes were also adjusted yearly. But we don't pay property taxes, so I guess I don't understand what the history of the 5 years versus every year, because that's standard in the industry. And what Bob's talking about, I can understand his concerns related to environmental issues. Because if it's not in the contract, even if someone goes bankrupt, if we require them to have insurance, then we could go after their insurance. But if it's not in the contract that they're responsible, then it just really muddies the water related to that. And I thought last time when this came up for discussion, I thought there was going to be a specific plan that shows exactly where this hangar is going. And if it's there, but I haven't seen it yet, but I thought that was one of the things that we talked about last time, was because there was this whole big discussion on where is it going, what's it going to look like. And I thought the whole thing was that was going to come back to us, because that was one of the issues that were raised last time.
Right.
Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Mr. Marchman? Ms. Martinez?
Phil's right. At the last meeting, we were like, all right, we're RSVP the thing, but they were supposed to be submitting the diagram, the proposed layout of the hangar for FAA approval. And then once that's done, then it was supposed to come to us. So I'm a little confused about why are we getting the ground lease before we get the plans for the hangar?
Well, okay, and I'm going to let Michael just
Yeah.
second, but I'm going to answer this one as much best as I can, because I was at the
Yeah.
airport board meeting. I'm not, I can't speak to the dimensions of the hangar. I know there was discussions, a lengthy discussion about the orientation of the doors, and we talked about, we want to ensure that there's at least structurally where we can face it the way we want to. I believe the site has been, the site hasn't changed. It's the details of the building that they haven't designed. If I'm wrong, correct me. They haven't gone to full design on the building until they get the lease, because there's no reason for them to proceed to the design on $1 million hangar without having a ground lease. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Okay, so this is the ground lease so they can move forward with the building of their proposed hangar.
Right. And I know we had also discussed at the last airport advisory board. I'm sorry I missed the last one. I've been laid up. But about not necessarily, we were going to look at their current lease for their current hangar, but not necessarily do the same thing.
Let me touch base really quick on the CPI. We had a lengthy discussion with that, and I believe that staff negotiated with them, and there was a different term with the CPI after so many years. It was different terms, and the airport advisory board felt confident or firm in the recommendation that the CPI escalator at 5 years, it matches every other lease we have at the airport.
Okay.
So that's why that was selected. Did I say that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Bruce,
Sir,
are you going to give us your opinion?
I certainly can.
I would appreciate that.
I would appreciate weighing in somewhat on,
Yes, sir.
on this item. So,
I would like to hear it.
good afternoon or evening, Mayor, Council, City staff, members of the public. Mike Haley, Airport Manager. If you recall, this came before you before, and it was at the request of DJ Brask with the intent to build a hangar.
But in order for him to build a hangar, he has to know what kind of fees he's going to be obligated to through the terms of that lease. So we were asking for the square footage rate and the length of the term. We were directed by council to meet with Scott Dixon and I were directed to meet with Brask. We did so. We came to an understanding of why he wants to orient the hangar the way he wants to. And we came to an agreement on a square footage rate of 24 cents a square foot rather than 25 cents a square foot, which is what New Braunfels is doing. And we came up with 12 cents a square foot for encumbering any exclusive ramp space to go to their hangar. Brask had added a arbitration clause, which is the escalator that you were speaking about.
Yes, sir.
And that was taken from a land lease that he has in another state. And that's not consistent with any land lease that we have at our airport. So the advisory board, we went before the advisory board. They suggested that we need to treat everybody on the airport the same rates, same length of term, or greater, that we don't compete with other airports. We're competing with ourselves on the airport. Brask is already a tenant and 15 years into their first 30-year lease. So to renegotiate a different escalation of rent clause based on an annual CPI index would be different than the other 5 land leases that we have at the airport. Now, our non-land lease, our straight hangar rents, they are subject to a annual CPI index increase. And that is consistent. But from the aspect of should we do what Hondo does or New Braunfels does, we should do what is the same with all of our other tenants. And if we want to make a change to how that happens, we can take all of the leases, send them to the attorney and have them revised to encompass more detail or what we want specific in the lease. There are other things that relate in addition to just what's spelled out in the lease. There is airport rules and regulations. There's the Chapter 18 that we're working on. There are other ways to address items, although I did see in the lease that vehicles are in there and the condition of the vehicles. But bottom line is we don't want to compete with anybody else. The advisory board told us to go with a 5-year CPI index escalation for rent. Now, I will tell you, I did the numbers as well. And Councilmember Lee is correct. There's a drastic difference between a 3% every 5 years on a $5,000 lease versus a 3% increase every year on that same $5,000 lease. The numbers come out to be $50,000 total on a 40-year lease at every 5 years, comes out to $377,000 on a every year annual increase if the CPI was 3% every year. This situation that we're in is much like if you were going to build a home, you would want to know that you can have the land before you go and order the kit home.
Correct.
And all the expenses of getting the engineered plans and all of that. I think a lot of these things can be adjusted by addendum because we can do addendums to the lease. And that's something that if we need further direction on, we could do that.
Mike, did I understand you correctly that the ones that rent individual hangar space in the city, their annual leases subject to CPIs on an annual basis? But every one that we have a ground lease, a long-term lease, they have 5-year terms on
That's
CPIs.
correct.
Every one of them. So this, I heard, that's what I thought you said.
So all
This
of
is
our
staying with our
hangars and
standard.
box hangars that the city owns that we rent out monthly is subject to an annual CPI
Okay.
increase if elected by city council.
Got it.
All of our ground leases, and a majority of them are going to come due this year in 2026, will
Okay.
be their first increase after 5 years of being in.
Okay, so it's a standard what we have historically used.
What would be changing now is extending 30 years to 40 years. 40 years is allowed by the FAA. The reason for it is the cost of steel.
Right.
If you build a steel hangar, it used to be that airports had 25-year leases.
Right.
the cost of steel just prohibits the return on investment. So we agreed that a 40-year lease seemed reasonable with a 10-year.
The 40-year lease allows them to depreciate it over time
Exactly.
versus just,
And, you know, I don't mean to be, a bird in the hand is better than no bird at all.
Okay.
So it's not like I've got, you know, I had one other tenant that wanted to build a hangar there, but he wasn't talking about the biggest, best that he could build. Whereas Brask is going to make the full use of that prime parcel. The other thing our airport does not do is we do not break down tiers of leases or tiers of hangars. If we did, we could say, for example, the most prime spot on the airport should be 36 cents a square foot as a tier 1. And then the tier 3 could be down as low as 18 or what have you.
but we're not set up that way.
We're not set up that way. And the advisory board's recommendation is to stay with what we're doing with everybody else on the airport.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Thank you,
Scott,
sir.
did you have any comments you want to weigh in on this?
No, I just wanted to thank Councilman Lee for getting us his comments back. He gave staff the opportunity to kind of prepare responses. So we appreciate you letting us know your concerns.
Okay. Is there any further conversation? Yes, Mr. Lee.
Yes, sir.
We'll go through it one more time.
I'm kind of astounded, and of course, I speak dramatically. I'm old. I don't care what anybody thinks, but other than my wife. If we've been doing something that was a good deal for the tenant and not a good deal for the airport, and we realized that, why would we continue to do it? And so some of those people in the airport board are tenants out there, and then we use a contrary thing is we do the CPI increase for all the individual hangars because it's the best thing to do for us because our expenses continue to go up. And so why would the most expensive hangars out there, I try to give them a deal that costs us money, tens of thousands of dollars. It doesn't make any sense. If you realize you're not doing something that should be different, you have to change it at some point. We no longer have the UDO. We got rid of the development agreement. We've been changing city policies because the way we were doing it before, or what we were going to do, we said, this is really not good for us. And so we need to be, you know, wise enough, bold enough to do the right thing because you're talking 40 years, okay? 40 years of money and income. You need to make sure it's right, okay? You need to make sure it's right and not say, hey, this group said it was okay, so I guess it's okay. I wonder how much experience do they have with lease evaluation? So, you know, we just continue to cost the airport money, and it's just nuts. We need to basically take this thing, have them give us a sketch of what they want to do and the orientation. They don't have to hire an engineer for that, and resolve these other problems with drainage and if it's over the electrical, and us come up with a rate structure that we like. Have the attorney look at the contract, maybe compare it with the Roswell's to see if there's things we missed that are important to us that should really be in ours, and then bring it back to the next meeting with brass thing and this. But you know, why would I accept 11 or 12 cents a square foot when every other airport under the sun is getting the same rate? I mean, it's just nuts. And so I don't want to be nuts. I would rather do what's best for the airport, exactly like the FAA expects us to do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Murs, did you have anything else? Mr. King, do you have anything else? I'm going down the line. I'm sorry.
Going again, I thought the whole confusion last time, Michael, was you all.
Hearing and have stamps and be determined that the foundation will fit in that particular.
To answer the question direct, do you know where it's going to be located on the property, on the airport property? Yes, it'll be located within this designated ground lease area.
Correct.
You don't know the exact how it fits on that, but that ground lease has been determined. The location.
Yes, the parcel to be included in the ground lease has been determined.
So how the building fits on that is to be determined.
In the size of the building and the foundation necessary to support it.
Right.
All of that has not been done.
Where in this parcel, they're going to lease the whole parcel, or they're only going to lease a portion of the parcel, and that has not been determined.
They're going to lease a portion of the parcel, the footprint of their hangar, and then the ramp space that they want to accompany that. So And they presented the largest hangar for the use of that space versus the other applicant that was looking at a smaller hangar.
From my understanding, and if I misunderstood this from listening to the discussion airport board, the building, then there's certain space outside the building that goes with the building. Then they want to add additional ramp space that they want to pay for, so they have
Exclusive
access to
for
the
their
building.
airplane.
Yeah.
So
Which has not been defined.
the hangar will have a apron around it, right? You can't just have the wall straight down to the ground. There'll be an apron around it with
Sure.
a driveway, if you will, for the airplane. But then that driveway protrudes out into the ramp space. They want to secure exclusive use of the ramp space so as to not have conflict with other aircraft that may come.
And the amount of that exclusive use will be determined once they give the schematics on the building.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
And I understand. Okay. So right now, we're going to approve a lease if we vote to approve it. We don't know exactly where the building's going to be on the parcel because they're not going to rent the whole parcel. They're going to rent is the portion that they're going to rent, is that totally up to them? Or does that have to be an agreement between them and us?
that would be an agreement between us. My suggestion to you is I'm not asking for a full executed lease. The time I was here before and what Scott and I arranged was to determine the cost per square foot for both the hangar footprint and then the cost per square foot for the exclusive ramp space. So that is 24 cents and 12 cents. I realize that there's more information that's necessary for everybody to understand what it's going to look like on the airport, what color it's going to be, what position, what orientation it's going to have. But I need Brass to come back with his engineering report and tell me this is what I can build. This is the ultimate size. We're guessing 125.
Would it be fair to say that, when they came the first time, conceptual, we said, okay, go out and negotiate something. And now you guys have a ground lease, which is the next phase. And then they come back with the building, and then that puts all the final components together.
Yeah,
So
there are
it's
blanks.
kind of like a phased approach.
Yeah, there are blanks in the lease because the square footage hasn't been determined yet.
Right.
So, for us to put something in there only creates a lease that we may have to revise.
This is the next level of commitment so
Yeah.
they can proceed.
If the builder wants a guarantee on their return on their investment, or at least the confidence that their cost is only going to go up every 5 years by the CPI, that's much more beneficial for a builder than somebody having to look at every year it's going to go up by CPI. Because again, the difference on $5,000 a year was $50,000 total versus $377,000. And I would suggest none of us would go and buy land on an escalating clause every year that would take our $50,000 lot and make it $377,000. By the time we put our house on it and did all the engineering, now we're near $1 million property when that wasn't our initial intent. So from a developer standpoint, he's looking to get the city to give him the confidence to move forward with this hangar at a reasonable rate. He's paying what everybody else would pay, 24 cents a square foot. And he's the only one that's currently renting exclusive space in front of this hangar.
So following up on my last question here then is, even though we're asked to sign the lease, the only important part of the lease standing here today is the cost. And when I say cost, that includes the 5-year escalation of CPI and the 24 cents and the other one. So that's all you're really asking for approval of tonight, so that they know what their costs are and they can continue negotiating all these other elements.
Correct.
That will go into the final lease.
I did not present a lease to you that is completely filled out and ready for a signature, because I don't know the orientation or the size of his hangar. He may find out that he can only do 100 by 100. That may change things as well.
I guess it would be easier for me to vote on it if, instead of voting on the lease, we're voting on those key points of the lease, and then it would be easy.
because that means you're gonna bring the lease back to us later, fully filled out with after their construction and everything else, and you all have negotiated exactly where things going, color of building, everything else, that'll go into the final lease.
I could certainly do that, or we could do it through addendum. I don't know how often you want to have this lease come before you. My intent was not to make this a weekly or monthly council meeting agenda item.
Right.
It was just to get to a point where I could give Brass the confidence to move forward, not have to worry about.
You need the rates that that the city has
And the
approved,
CPI
and the
index for every
CPI,
5 years.
so they can move forward with the project.
Because they did put that index, they took out the escalation clause that was based on arbitration. They did go back to the 5-year CPI.
Well, just so y'all know, we were concerned, and I brought it up, we were concerned with the arbitration clause, that it could end up to be nothing. Where at least at a 5-year, it's a guaranteed CPI increase.
And they brought that from out of state,
Right.
other airports. We're all in agreement that wasn't.
Yeah, the only thing I'm a little nervous on an addendum is that both parties would have to agree to the addendum, even though the original lease is already in place. So if it's, however, just coming back and someone make a motion that we will approve, this city council is approving the fee structure of this future lease.
And the final
that would
terms
be
of
a
the lease
simple
come
thing to
back.
do.
Yeah, and I'll follow council's direction on that. I don't have that mapped out that it has to go that way.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, just a second, we're gonna go on down the line. Mr. Marchman, did you have a
So,
comment?
yes, for clarity, then do we have to withdraw that motion and redesign that and restate?
Well, we have a motion and a second on the table. We literally have to take action on that, and basically, it could withdraw, or we can go from there and reissue another one if we want to.
To
But-
incorporate what?
But am I correct? They can withdraw that,
It's on the table.
It's on the
They can
table.
also amend their motion.
or they can amend it, and things like that. Okay. And that's however.
Can I ask Mike a question?
Yes, sir.
The previous drawing they had showed they wanted exclusive use of some of our apron space, not just what they put in for their hangar, but some of what that's already belongs to us.
Yes.
My
Correct.
point being, unless it's all defined in the orientation and how much ramp space they're gonna have that they're paying for, because before they wanted to use what they currently had, which is unacceptable, but we don't know any of that. We don't know any of that.
Their current lease, they do have a exclusive ramp space that they pay
Right.
annual
Part
for.
of their hangar lease.
For us to know what the square footage of the next exclusive ramp space is going to be for them, we don't know that till the hangar orientation is determined, how much of the ramp space they need to take. I did talk to them about other options, to lessen the amount of ramp space or even eliminate the ramp space.
Okay, thank you.
I can't come to you with a layout and say, this is exactly what they're proposing, this is what we're agreeing to, and this is what's going to be built, because we're not there yet.
Okay, Ms. Martinez, would you like to amend your motion?
I would. I'd like to amend it to reflect instead, we're approving 24 cents per square foot for on the proper, located
For
on
the
the property,
hangar.
for the hangar, and then 12 cents square foot for the apron, parking, tie down.
Ramp space.
Yep. And then the every 5-year CPIU increase.
Okay,
I second that.
okay. Motion made and seconded to approve the rate structure so you can move forward.
I call the question.
Can I just get clarification, because I didn't hear what she said?
Yes, okay. The motion is she's asking to amend her motion, and we're going to vote on the amendment. The amendment motion is to approve the proposed rate of 24 cents per square foot for the hangar, 12 cents per square foot for the apron space, with the 5-year CPI on a 40-year term. Okay, and then authorize or direct, that was the motion in the second, the amended motion. Basically, that gives the information, ma'am?
Mr. Marchman, Councilman Marchman seconded.
Yes, ma'am. That's that motion second, if council approves that, well, actually, that's an amendment to the motion. I need to vote on the amendment, right? All in favor for the amendment?
Aye.
Wait,
If we vote on the amendment, we're voting to approve it.
No.
No.
You're voting to amend the original
All it
motion.
takes to do it is that the person who made the motion and the person who seconded it has to agree to change it.
You have to vote on an amendment. That's a process. Okay, all in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Opposition?
Nay.
I voted aye also.
Okay, the amendment passes. So we have an amendment motion on there, and the based on our conversation, that if the council so chooses on that, that is to provide you guidance to move forward on the next phase of their project. Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Okay.
You actually,
But this is not the motion that we were discussing. This is the new motion.
It's a modification.
We can't discuss the new motion without, because you're not calling the question on the previous one.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
On the agenda tonight is this whole thing, okay? What I hear us talking about, which is actually undefined, because when we talk about 5-year CPI, we don't know if it's a cumulative CPI up to the 5th year or just the 5th year percentage CPI. We haven't defined that, okay? So on our agenda is a whole package, and if you approve this package with those rates, it's done. It's done, okay? They don't have to come back here ever again, ever again. It's finished, all right? And so it's not all these other issues or questions we have, they're out the window. And we've decided to rob the airport some more. Crazy.
Any other discussions?
Yeah, Bob, I disagree with you. We're not approving the contract, the lease contract. We're only approving those 3 items that go into the lease contract.
It's not on the agenda.
The agenda, the contract, the lease agreement still needs to come back to us for approval once it's all finished and everything is included in it. We're not including the motion, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sheena, they're not approving, that was not the motion. The motion simply had to do with those 3 cost items, and that was it.
That was it.
Could you tell me how the CPI figures in?
CPI is, I believe the motion was on a 5-year CPI.
Cumulative or
No,
just for that year?
it's a 5-year CPI based on every the other ones about the.
Correct.
No, there's no other cumulative one out there. They're based on a 5-year CPI escalator.
For land lease.
Yes, that's the same. It follows the
every
same
5 years
promise.
Based on the CPI for that 5th year.
So if it's 0 in the 5th year, then it's 0 for the next 5 years.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. It's based on the CPI.
Even if it was 10% the preceding 4 years.
It's based on the CPI at the 5-year anniversaries. Yes. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. You have your marching orders.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
Okay. Item B, discussion appropriate action to authorize staff to enter into a contract for professional services for aviation engineering. This also came to us before, while we're not looking for somebody to have a full-time staff engineering or advisor, we need to have one available as needed. There is no cost unless needed as we move forward. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there was RFQs put out. There were 3 people that applied. There was a review panel, and the review panel has chosen and made a recommendation.
correct.
Is there any other comments you'd like to make, Scott?
No, I just add that they're probably the first project we put on their plate is to update the airport master plan. It's not a major update. It's just because there have been changes since this council has decided not to have extend the runway. And there are a number of items tied to that or reflected in the plan. We'd want them to update that plan, but that would be probably a fairly minimal cost.
Well, again, those were some issues that were discussed at the airport advisory board and pointed out as far as the city council action ordinance that limits the runway length at 5,001 feet. I believe that's correct. And we need to adjust everything accordingly with that. I don't know how much we need to do with this, but we need to have somebody available on an as-needed basis.
Correct.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize staff to enter into a contract for professional services for aviation engineering.
with,
Peyton Dawson.
Paid off.
Peyton
Yes.
Dawson.
With clear?
Peyton Dawson.
Hey, Dawson, sorry.
okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to second to enter into the contract. Do we have any discussion?
Yes.
Where do you want to start?
Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
Okay. Staff has evaluated submissions in 3 firms, but has provided nothing to council for council to evaluate the submissions in detail and understand how staff reached their conclusion. We've been through this very same thing on some other items that came before council without us understanding the details. We may have questions on and may not agree with staff recommendation. It's happened before. I thought we had cleared this point up in the past, that council is the one that makes the decisions and is responsible, and we need to see exactly what went into making a recommendation. I would ask normally this be put on the next agenda, but I'm not recommending that. We have now been put in a position thinking we must choose an airport engineering firm and put them under contract. That is not the case. It seems to be a trend in many organizations, not just us, that there is a need to hire professionals who are thinking for us. For some complex projects like ongoing water and sewer system improvements, I would absolutely agree. We do not need, though, a large firm on contract for the airport. For 25 years, we have done just fine only getting an engineering firm for specific large projects, and otherwise having local engineering and professional talent work with the city at far less cost than a large firm. We've added large and small hangars, runway extension, runway resurfacing, fuel storage, suspension system, terminal building, AWAS, precision approach, slope lights, sound thrust reconstruction, to name some. Most can be handled by local firms like Trigon, Jaggy Services, Rovey Surveyors, and others. Local companies that have a few employees and much lower overhead and are very responsive to our needs, If they need more expertise, they hire it at less cost than a large firm. For example, Jaggy does electrical, mechanical, and more. They fixed the tetrahedron at our airport in Hondo. Nobody else wanted to. Did fencing in our airport, installed our deer guard. They're currently installing aircraft tie downs for green flights. The Almond hangar was about to fall apart, and a local company came in and did a complete refurbishment of that hangar, and saving us considerable money and keeping it producing assets in the airport. Zinsmeyer Mechanical Welding has done hangar construction and many other projects for the airport. NV Electric helped completely redo the inside of the Dream Flights hangar, and they had overhead door put in, replacing the unserviceable one by another local firm. Mr. Friesenon at Trigon has been providing us valuable service at far less than it would cost to get the very same things from a large firm like Pate Dawson. He's been very effective dealing with the Air Force on our behalf concerning Air Force use of our airport, local training areas so there could be safety conflicts. And we've not really defined exactly what the firm like Pate Dawson would do for us. We turn everything over to them, but we had even a small project and asked for them to evaluate it. The reason Pate Dawson got involved with KSA is there's money in it. And if you look at their rates, 300 an hour, 200 an hour, you can expect those very things to be put on most all projects we do with them. For all these projects, we could have a single firm handle for us at significantly more cost, like Pate Dawson, and cut out our skilled local talent and add more complexity. It's not at all unlike us using professional services, Councilman King, instead of spending on an engineering for some jobs. I read the thing at the same point by using our local talent instead of a big firm. The airport is not financially in position to spend $1 more than is absolutely necessary. I wish that same approach was taken by us for the entire city operation. We need to continue operating as we have been and not put a large high-priced firm on contract. When we need expertise or capabilities beyond what our local companies can handle, then by all means hire what we need each time, just like we have in the past. Everything can be taken care of pretty much by our staff, our airport manager, until we need some specific thing done, and then bring in a large firm. Don't put them on contract so we just automatically go to them for anything and everything, just so we don't have to fool with it. I'm absolutely opposed to us making any choice out of those that were submitted.
Mr. Mers?
I have strong reservations about selecting Pape Dawson for this role. Pape Dawson regularly appears representing commercial and residential developers out near the airport.
Okay.
And I would not be comfortable with them also recommending how we're directing our airport over time.
Okay. Mr. King?
Yeah, I guess the reason the staff recommended, and a lot of their points had to do with David Fitzpatrick now works for Pave Dawson. Is that correct?
Yeah, he does, but that isn't why we awarded him points.
Well, no, that was probably
Had a little.
Let's just, I mean, to be clear, I was one of three that's on the committee, at least just speaking personally from my feelings. In my experience working in local government, each of the cities and counties I've worked for that's had an airport, I've had the opportunity to work with engineering outfits. And the two that have impressed me the most are Lochner Aviation and KSA Aviation. I have a lot of experience dealing with both of them. And I feel very confident in recommending either one of them as an engineer. It just so happens we already have, Lochner just bought K-Freeze, which was our local engineer. So we have access to Lochner. And I think I remember kind of bragging about that a long time ago when that happened, that Lochner had a good aviation division. So now we have kind of that expertise. And if we're going to get an engineer that will have on call, I think to have KSA, I know we're saying Pave Dawson bought KSA, but essentially you're getting the aviation division from KSA working with our airport. It wouldn't be new engineers. It'd be that group. Grayson. Is it Grayson? Why am I thinking Grayson?
Park Hill.
No. The gentleman at KSA. But anyway, it's the same team, same core team that has been there for a decade or more. So that's why.
So Pave Dawson.
Personally, that's why I recommended KSA or Pave Dawson, is because of my past experience, knowing we already had Lochner as well.
And David's with them, but the reason I like David, I think council liked David. He was very.
He doesn't hurt. David's great. It's the fact that they have him.
So he's in that team.
Yeah.
They are a very well known local company, the San Antonio, and their rates are well within what engineering firms charge, and our other engineering firms are charging us. So I don't have a problem with going with staff's recommendation on this.
Mr. Marchman?
Mr. Haley, Pete Dawson, you agree with? You would use them?
Yes, it was the scoring model from the three member board that came up with Pave Dawson KSA.
Right.
It wasn't for any personal bias or anything like that. Right. They scored the top. But I would not be hesitant to work with them because I'm working off of their work product right now, which is the airport layout plan that was done by KSA.
Okay.
So, and I will share with you that before we went to RFQ, I contacted Ben Breck, who's our aviation planner at TxDOT Aviation. He told me that that's his preferred way, is that the city has their own engineering firm, and that's TxDOT's recommendation. They're seeing more and more airports go to that position as opposed to having a project and then having to find an engineer to run that project. So it's with their recommendation. And finally, this was through the advisory board as well. It's not just staff's recommendation.
Thank you.
Ms. Martinez?
Yeah, and like Mike said, TxDOT's recommendation is to have somebody in the event, if we have a project that we already have, that way we can get stuff going. So if TxDOT is recommending this and the advisory board's already given their recommendation, we had a 3-person panel look at everything. It's not, we're not going to be paying them every month. It's only if we tap into them and say, hey, we need your services for something, right?
Right. I think it's important. I just want to make one thing clear I don't want anybody to misunderstand this. We're not putting an engineer on staff. We're not hiring them with a retainer. This is like everything the city does. Since everything the city does, there's certain rules of engagement that require professional services. When you go for the airport grants or things like that, it's the professional services have to submit it. Even though the city may not have used that in the past and taking advantage of TxDOT personnel, TxDOT now is recommending we do it on our own with our professional services. So this should be This is on an as-needed only basis. It's not like we're going to call them every day. We have staff that can manage and operate. It's as needed. Am I correct? All right.
I expect that that's the way it is.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the, moving forward with the recommendations to Pape Dawson for airport professional service, engineering services. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Move on to the next item. Discuss and take appropriate action to authorize the use of box culverts in the Geneva Street drainage channel. Before I turn this over to Councilman Lee, who's requested this, once again, I want to make a point that this issue came before City Council. It was discussion with the property owners, discussion with engineers representing the city, and the solution out there, while I may not always agree with what was done, was a decision of City Council to proceed. And I think that's what we're working on now. What I've asked Councilman Lee, that before we make any significant changes, I've asked for a staff recommendation and maybe engineering, because I am concerned every time the city does any type of drainage work of potential liability on the city if we change anything, that especially something we've already approved with engineering. So anyway, I'll turn this over to Councilman Lee.
And also, don't forget you have someone I think wants to speak on this.
Oh,
subject.
excuse me.
I just don't know when.
This is, they've asked for item 9A, okay, and 13C. Did you want to speak first, or? Sure. Is it Megan? Is it Dabowski? All right, great.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City employees, and citizens of Castroville. Thank you for having me up here. My name's Megan Dabowski. We own 2 lots, one undeveloped lot on Geneva Street and one at 1306 Gentile Street, where our residence is. I'm here to speak regarding the current state of the drainage project adjacent to our property at Geneva and Gentiles. During the planning phase, we were assured that there would be 10 to 12 feet of usable street access remaining, and that has not occurred to date. At its narrowest point, the road is about 6 to 8 feet wide, and at its widest, barely 10 feet. This width is not adequate for safe driving, turnaround access, or the use of construction or service equipment needed to access and build on our second lot. Because there is no safe space to turn around, we are already seeing clear evidence of citizens or vehicles accessing and driving onto our private property. I have pictures I'm willing to share today, which creates liability, safety, and property rights concerns. In addition, our real estate agent has advised us that the property cannot be legally listed in its current condition. The current roadway configuration does not align with the recorded survey or the legally permitted use of the property, creating a discrepancy between what is shown on the survey and what is actually being allowed in practice. This directly impacts the marketability and value of our property. Additionally, we are seeing early signs of erosion in the drainage ditch. This is happening even without heavy rainfall or heavy equipment usage, which raises serious concerns about how this road will perform during major rain events or when construction equipment is introduced. We respectfully urge City Council to revisit the approved plans and to consider adding culverts and filling the ditch completely to restore safe access, protect private property, and prevent future infrastructure failure. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate those comments. Councilman Lee?
Okay, can we turn off let's try first just the lights up here. I think it's the top ones. If not, we'll turn it out, try the other one.
Thank you, Arnie.
Okay, we have another light that we can just turn both lights on, or can y'all see that okay? Okay, I trust you all took a look at the package, and there is some, that's okay. It's all right with me. Nobody can see me.
Yeah.
That's fine. Let's leave it like it is.
Okay, it's fine. This is my $75 projector, worked pretty good. Anyway, let me see if it needs a little focus there. Hold on a second.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, this was the, you would basically be standing on Gentile Street right now, and this would be the Paper Street extension of Geneva. And on the right over there is their house right now, and of course they split the lot unbeknownst to the city before the city started this project. And I don't have any issue with the city's good intentions here, but things crept up as time went on. This picture was taken just about a month ago, and you can see the lower left part of the thing. The fiber optic cables are sticking up there, red and green, I believe, or red and blue. But let's proceed down the thing here. And so this is what currently exists.
How wide is your truck?
It's standard width, same as yours.
Yeah, so how wide do you think
That's
it
a
is?
12-foot yard.
So the statement earlier that it was only 10 feet wide appears to be inaccurate?
I didn't make that statement. You told me we were.
No, I didn't say you made the statement.
11-foot roadway is what I understood.
Keep
I
going.
don't know what it is, but I know.
Keep going. That's all right.
I know that you will not have two cars pass one another on that road.
No, you're
And
correct.
the point I made in the package to the left of my truck, as we face it, that's all private property, right up to basically to the edge. Everything to the right belongs to the city and under my truck. And as you follow this all the way down to the river, there really is no place to turn around. Here it is going all the way down to the river. So this paving ends at a particular point, and the rest of it, everything to the right is private property, everything to the left is ditch, including berm. And we'll just motor on down that way. Just again, a different perspective to get an idea of the size of the ditch, and I'll show you that in a minute.
81.2 inches wide.
Yeah, I measured it today. I've got pictures of the measurement. So we're down closer to the river now, and it looks like they've relocated the manhole cover, or the manhole access right there in the picture. Okay, we're almost down to the river at this point. You can still see there's built-up material, then it basically tapers off and goes into the river. One of the things I noticed, the edge of the drainage channel to the north is quite high there, and Mr. Hancock's property, don't know if that's going to create a drainage issue for him or not, but obviously we would have interrupted a natural flow if there was one. There's already been some, and of course there's nothing down there to stop it. It's erosion along that area. I was told at the last council meeting by Councilman King, and maybe it was the previous one, Mr. Dixon, we have other drainage ditches in town that are similar to that one. So I went around at the direction of Mr. Dixon as to where these places are, and here they are. And so in all of these cases, you'll see that the ditch is easily driven into and out of.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's Mr. Sheffield's.
Yeah, I don't think that would be described as driving into that.
Yeah, you can't drive that, and there's more north of that.
Okay, I have it all here. And in the package, you saw the recommended roadside was the minimum was 1 foot vertical every 3 feet, preferably 1.4, 1.5, something like that. Because you got to the point that even a 1 foot vertical, 3 foot horizontal could be an issue for some people. Okay, here we go. I mean, anybody can drive on and off of that. And understand, this is a full 2-lane wide road with a little bit of room on the sides, unlike the road that is on the extension of Geneva. And even at the corner there is a culvert with a raised area to keep you from driving into it. Okay, back to the property in the item. You get a general idea there about how deep that is and how big my truck is. I went ahead and did some measurements. There's some in the package. I made sure that it was level. I put a 3-foot ruler down, as you see right there, and then I measured vertically up the side of where the intersection point was. And as I told you before, I'd have to zoom that in, but I'm not going to do it. It was in your package. It's 24 inches from the base up to the horizontal line, which gives you a slope of 2 to 3 instead of 1 to 3. Obviously, significantly more than what the highway department says is safe. There's a little bit more balloon up. You can see they're not. It's 24 right where those two intersect. I also did a measurement today on how deep the ditch is, and basically went down till it looked level. It's 4 feet deep at that point, and the side slope is 6 feet going up there. I dare you to drive off of that if you get a couple of wheels down there a couple of feet. The distance from the top edge on the left to the right is around 20 feet. So you have about 20 by 4 deep and a 6 foot up the sides. That same amount of water, this is my property, that same amount of water that's going to go down that ditch has been handled by me for the last 25 years. Okay, this particular ditch right here that I put in was much smaller originally, but this stick that I have sitting out here next to the monitor in the room, and I'm going to go get it here in a second, it was basically 6 feet side to side across that, and you can see right there, if you can read it, I don't know if you can, what the depth is of that. Let me see if I can sharpen it up at all.
About 3.5.
I could get my binoculars out, I guess, but I've written up here. Okay, my point being, a 6 foot wide and about a 3 foot ditch has worked for me for 25 years. It has never overflowed at that point onto my yard. It has at the front where it comes in and further back where it's shallow, but you can see the volume of water that comes down here through every rain we've had doesn't go over the side there. Eats the sides out, but it doesn't go over. So that tells me the ditch that's over there right now is probably 4 or 5 times bigger than it has to be to carry the volume of water we're likely to see. I'm not predicting that. I'm just telling the experience. And of course, I've had considerable erosion. Like I said, this thing was about 3 feet wide and 2.5 feet deep when I started, but you can see the volume of water that does come down is basically eating the thing alive. Turn the lights back on.
We'll install a clapper.
All of them?
Yeah.
Yes, all of them.
Ooh, that's great. Well, that got you up, didn't it?
I made a diagram here of what we're looking at. You saw the dimensions. Sorry, folks. You saw the dimensions. This is what the highway department says is minimally safe. That you should read. Okay. Here's what we have out there. We have 2 vertical by 2 high. I think that far exceeds what would be considered safe to have as a roadside that you can drive off. As I said in my package, if 2 people got on that from either end, one person would not see the other person coming on from the other end. And so who backs up? Who backs up? And here's the measurements I did today. 6 foot up the side, 4 feet deep, 20 feet across. So my suggestion is that
Talk in your microphone. Talk in your microphone.
my
Thank you.
suggestion is that we have staff get us an estimate on what it's going to cost to put some culvert in there to handle the quantity of water that does come down there and to cover that thing back up so we don't have a safety issue at all. We're in compliance with a safe drainage canal beside a drivable road, and we could put 2 vehicles on it at the same time. It'll provide an area that you could run utilities down to the back lot, and I think that's something that we ought to undertake. When the project started, had the lot never been split, probably never would have been an issue. But that's not the situation, and we don't want to create something that's unsafe. We need to do the right thing now. That's it.
Mr. Mers?
I have some questions for staff just because my memory is not perfect. Was the Geneva Paper Street drivable before this project began? Was there already a paved road there?
That's the question again.
Was there a road, like a prepared surface for driving on the Geneva Paper Street?
It was and is a paper street.
Okay.
If I may, David.
Hang on, I
Yes,
do
sir.
have another question.
Okay, I just wanted to add to that, but yes, sir.
Was this road originally part of the project plan, or was it requested by the property owners?
Yeah, the road was requested by the property owners, and that's something we've discussed. is what the final condition would look like.
Kim?
We originally agreed to just millings, putting millings down, but they got a little bit better than millings because we needed to get compaction on that roadway. And so that's why it looks the way it does right now.
And so if we had not chosen to put a driving surface in the Geneva Street right of way, what would they have had to do to access that back lot?
Well, they're still going to have to put in some kind of drive access.
Sorry?
We had over 42 feet before that. It was just grass. We were gonna pay for the asphalt.
Yeah. They'd have to do their own approach.
I only have one question. Actually, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to, are you finished, Dave?
Are you finished, sir? I'm sorry.
I have more to say, but we can continue. You can come back to me. I'll wait.
Oh, well, we're going to make another round. I just wanted to ask a question to y'all. Okay. When y'all bought the property, I know it's the city's right away. I understand that. Y'all bought your property. It sounds like we're reliving a lot of the conversation we had before. And you've divided your property with the paper street right away and what have you, however the city did. I guess my question is, what prompted all the drainage work in that when the drainage was working in that area? Mr. King, go ahead.
Bob, you had indicated, I think you had advocated to run the drain pipes all the way down too close to the river, which, looking at Google Earth, that's about 800 feet.
No, sir, I'm not recommending that.
How far did you want to run the drain pipes down?
I'd let engineers determine that.
Okay.
Well,
but I thought your write-up had indicated you would recommend
I
running
said
the
a
pipes.
Portion of the way.
Okay.
I'm not an engineer.
The first lot is basically Google Earth again. It's about 250 feet deep. And it's 250 feet by about 250 feet. And then you have the back lot.
that sounds about right. Yeah.
And so one of the problems here is there's not enough room there. And to run the pipes down there, you're talking at the very most inexpensive material. Costs about $75 a foot, costs twice that for labor, but you need two of them. So 2 48-inch pipes, you're talking about a little over $200,000. It would be, I guess I would recommend city staff talk to the homeowners about acquiring either an easement or outright purchase of another 20 feet of that property down there. And then we have a city street there. That way you can flatten the slopes on that one side where Bob is concerned about it being a little bit too steep. You still have an open channel down there, but now you also have a 20-foot wide roadway, or unimproved roadway that the homeowners can go and purchase. But that would be a lot less expensive than burying two pipes down there.
And your property line goes right up to the side of the ditch. Accurate? Is that correct?
To the right of way line.
You haven't tried to buy it.
Where that
Bill,
road that he's driving in?
Yeah.
That's the property line to the edge of that.
Councilman King, I think you're making an assumption about the value of that land, and you haven't had to deal with the Dabowskis yet.
Well,
I don't know what that land would cost.
Well, and we've had other issues, but unless you ask the question and enter
Sure.
into it, and the city does have options for the public good,
Sure.
that's their property line right there.
Okay.
That goes.
Thank you.
But that's an option. If you've given the 10-foot road.
Well, there is additional. I need to go out and measure it again. I'm frustrated because I know we had agreed and we should be able to deliver what we agreed to. And if we're able to deliver what we agreed to, it was never about two cars being able to pass each other. And I want to remind council, y'all had some discussion about paper streets and their use and restricting them to vehicular access. So if you follow through on what you've already said you wanted to do, which is have signs posted that basically says vehicles not allowed beyond this point on several of the streets, and vehicles not allowed at all in other places where it's literally only pedestrian access, then a lot of the issues that Councilman Lee has go away. Now, it doesn't help the owner, but the owner has its own, they have their own driveway, their own access. They can mitigate some of those challenges because they can pull on and off their property, right? As far as turning around, having turning radiuses, et cetera. This is also, as I've shared before, and again, this is not meant as an attack, but this is a problem that in some in some ways exists and was created by the owners who own the property because of how they decided to subdivide it. They made an assumption that the city's right of way would be available to them as a street, which is a fair enough assumption, but they also own both pieces of property. So to the extent that there is a problem that needs fixing, they have the ability to fix it. I mean, I'm from the Fort Worth area. I have lots of ranching, family, and anytime they subdivided property, they gave each other access easements to the other properties because you had to. If they had to get the cattle, et cetera, you had to have an easement, and that's how they dealt with it. And so, being the owner of the two properties, there's a lot of onus being put on the city. Well, you need to do this, you need to do that, and I just don't take that view. But I'm not the policymaker. You all are. So we have tried to act in good faith, and we will continue to do so. I'm concerned about the width of the road. Now, there is an additional foot that's not pictured. It's pictured, but it's not delineated because we purposely set the stakes 1 foot inside of the city's property. And we did that, and we did advise you that we're doing that so that we would ensure that as we did our scope of work.
You would be clearly in city right of way.
Yeah, and it'd be clearly in our right of way, and we wouldn't do anything to their private property. So we are those stakes are a foot off on purpose, but that's only an additional foot. So like if it really is the narrowest point 6 feet, that's a concern. It would really be 7 feet, but still that's not 16, I think, or whatever we talked about. So we've got to look at that aspect of it. But beyond that, I mean, I think a lot of the other concerns are kind of moot. Anyway.
Mr. Marchand, anything else? No. Ms. Martinez?
So with this being a paper street, I remember a couple of years ago, there was a big concern about paper streets, everybody having access to it, making sure it wasn't blocked off from only certain, property owners could only use it, that kind of stuff. So when we were looking at how we did this portion of the paper street, did we have an engineer go and do all the measurements?
Yeah. So let me think.
This is an engineered project.
Yeah. Let me think.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that question because I really kind of want to give a little bit of the story of how we ended up where we are. Councilman Lee may recall that he complained quite vociferously about the ditch that was on his property that he had no business maintaining on behalf of the city. And he was very upset about how much erosion there had been, and the city really needed to come up with a plan. You may recall that we walked that whole block with him and looked at the ditches and the options. We went back to council and to our engineer and said, look, we've got an Athens area drainage problem. And the engineer made no less than 3 presentations to this council and said, look, you're not going to fix the flooding and other issues with these token projects. And council basically said, but we want you to do them anyway. Because understanding that the most you're going to affect the flood is in maybe by a ½ inch. But that's as much relief as they anticipated from all the various kind of smaller projects. And the smaller projects consisted of lowering roadways in some places, establishing bar dishes in other places, and doing other things. So council instructed staff to look at the excess funds that would not be utilized on the Garza Creek project for use to do some of this Athens Street stuff. So it was engaged, and when we began this process, it was really meant to be a low cost, what can we do in-house? I think this project was originally $200,000 range. Like what can we do with 200 grand in that area to try and establish some bar ditches and do some other things? So with that as our mission, if you will, we engaged the engineer, we looked at solutions, and we came upon this paper street, which was, when you look at the natural drainage in the area, a lot of the natural drainage goes right down that road. So it would not be, and the city owns the property, right? And it was our understanding that the city was within its right to designate a portion of that paper street as a drainage. Now, I think that it's very possible, having talked to Santee after the project was engaged, that the city should have vacated a portion of that paper street to make it not a street on paper and to classify it as a drainage easement. You still have that ability. You can still do that. But that's probably something that should have been done at the very beginning to clarify that this is a drainage easement. And that way things like the survey would be correct. you'd show a drainage easement and then a roadway. In any case, that's how this project came to pass. It was really to alleviate the drainage that was going across Bob Lee's property. And it's not, I don't want this to make it sound like, because I know it's to some years it may, that we were kowtowing to Councilman Lee before he was councilperson. That wasn't the issue at all. We knew.
I was surprised when it happened.
We knew that there was a drainage problem in that area. And we also knew that the city needed to take greater control over that drainage to direct it, et cetera. So this is intended to be the first of several projects, as has been reported pretty regularly to you all, that like, here's this one project that we'll do. And then we've got to go reestablish some of the existing bar ditches. So we'll dig them out and they'll start to look a little bit more like this one that we've heard a lot about tonight. And then we'll establish new ones. Now, the new ones we're establishing are to be in people's front yards along a roadway. They'll be much more shallow because there's conflicts with water and gas lines and that kind of thing. So that we're aware of. So that's a whole another undertaking that will be undertaken. But all of this is meant to be as a relief to the Athens area, understanding that it's not going to prevent major floods. It's just meant to help when we have those, like we did the other day.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to bring some historical knowledge in here. That's not Athens Street drainage. That's drainage off of Cross Hill and down Geneva Street. Athens Street drainage goes down Athens Street.
I'm calling Athens Street. I'm just calling that. We've called that whole area Athens Street,
Here I'm going to be in dangerous territory here because I'm going to make a few comments here. Number one is these folks bought this property in good faith. Yes, it's a paper street, and the city can use its city's right of way for other purposes. I got it. I understand that. The city allowed them to divide their property with that paper street in place for access to their other property. Then the city chose to change the drainage patterns of the city in that area, creating this project. Okay. Yes.
No.
Yes.
The drainage is already.
Yes.
It's already coming to that intersection.
Yes.
But we're taking it to.
But the original natural drainage of the property goes through the property by Mr. Lee.
Only because of improvements in the area.
No, that's a natural drainage of the property, has been for over 100 years. Of the city. The change in drainage patterns, which the city has a right to do and make things work, literally made you have to cut this ditch to get the drainage to force it down. It's not like a lot of other streets in the city that naturally grade towards the river. This one you had to cut out a big spot to get it to drain. So you had to force the drainage down this road. It's not a natural drainage area. Okay. And that's one. The second one, which really bothers me, is when you made a comment that the city committed funds from the drainage project that they were designed for DeGarza Creek. My concern is there's still enough funds to create that project while we're still trying to work on this.
I'll only clarify that real quick.
Okay.
This was the exit. We borrowed whatever it was, 1.8.
Right.
Is what we were capable of borrowing for drainage, but we knew the Garza Creek was going to come under that.
Okay.
So it's kind of like this well project that we're talking about.
Right.
There's a little bit of excess fund, a little bit, not a lot. Right.
Now, having said all of that, It is true. We came to city council with the engineer and we talked about a drive going down there for access. I don't know if everybody fully understood the depth of the ditch was going to be there, but we did talk about a drive to go down there. I think part of the issue, because it's still a paper street, it's public access all the way down through there. And I don't know if this can be done because it is a city's right of way. If it was a dedicated access only for them to access their property, that'd be a different issue. I don't think we'd be here having as much of a conversation. But because it has public access and there's no way for anybody to turn down, and the way the drainage comes down there, it becomes a different issue. That's my opinion.
Well, there's also
on how we work that out.
Someone to turn down,
now,
you have to go all the way down to the end of the river.
Right. You got to go down to the bottom end.
Because once you get to the bottom end, it's.
But yet we passed rules that say vehicle traffic can't go past the improvement areas.
Right.
So if you follow the logic that somebody can go down and turn around on the bottom, then we're paving it all the way, improving it all the way down to the river, and we're not.
But right now, there's nothing there.
I know.
But yeah.
So the vehicle traffic goes part way. Right. So now, so I've got a turn here that I think we bit off something that maybe we didn't give a whole lot of consideration to when we did it on how the impact of the city. And then now we're trying to go back and adjust things. I stand behind what I proposed to Mr. Lee, staff recommendation, engineering. I think Mr. Lee referenced engineering a little bit ago to even though we've had an engineering recommendation, which council took action on, uh, send it back to the engineers for a recommendation on how to proceed with this.
Well, the question is whether you want it boxed or not, right? And I think there's two suggestions. One was from Councilman Lee to narrow the ditch to something approximating what his ditch had in it, if I understood that correctly.
I'm just saying my ditch has handled the volume of water, and it's much smaller than yours. I think you did that one because you get the grader down there. But,
No,
well, I don't know. I'm just, as a comparison, saying I received all that water and have for 25 years. And the ditch that's there now, which has grown in size, has never overflown where that bridge
okay,
is.
you
So
have
it
the
handles
longest
volume
way
of
to
water.
answer a short question. I think the answer was yes, that your suggestion was to narrow the ditch, correct?
I'm saying that a narrow ditch accommodates the water.
Okay, so the answer is yes. The other suggestion was to box it. And I think what staff would look for, a box culvert, right? What staff would look for is there one of those two options that appeals to council? I will just tell you right now, the box culvert option is going to be price prohibitive based on the earlier assumptions that we made, which was how much we were going to dedicate to doing this
Sure.
project, right? So if this becomes a box culvert project, well, hell, fill it in and let's do something else, because there's that was never part of the design. We're just going to spend $1 million on this project.
Box culverts would cost about $800 a foot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you're talking about 300 feet
Or longer.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's, this is,
Can I propose a third option?
Well, there's all kinds of options about different culvert pipes, fill it in, go back to square one and rethink the whole thing. There's a lot of different options available for this. But I believe it requires, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of things. Yes, sir.
I do have a few things to say.
Yes, sir.
So is the project currently done, or is it still in progress?
it's still in progress.
So those narrower sections towards the end, because I did, at Mr. Lee's request, I went out there with my kids and walked the whole length of it over the weekend. And the road does narrow towards the end, but you're saying that that's not necessarily complete, where the design is to go the 10 to 12 feet all the way down. Or at
Yeah.
least to
Well,
the
and
property.
whatever the width is that we agree to, that's what we need to try and achieve. I mean, that's not, in my opinion, that's not negotiable. We made an agreement. We need to do that. And I agree with, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, we need to do that. So to the extent that that's the case, you're right. I mean, it's still a work in progress. We're still establishing Fleximat. Like, we still have to do that. We still got to establish the grass. You got to get the grass in there before you can establish the Fleximat. So that's all in that report that y'all received as a backup. Go ahead.
And then would it be possible for us to put a sign at the beginning of that of the newly drivable paper street that says no outlet, no public turnaround?
Sure. I mean, it would have to be established. I mean,
Right.
the council's within its powers to do something with that. Yes.
Okay.
And that's what I would suggest, though. Like, there's a lot of other ways you could do this. You could say that's not a paper street anymore. We're going to vacate that street. That rather than buying 20 feet, my recommendation would be vacate the street and give it to these folks and say, here you go. This is yours now. Because then it would be a private drive. It would not be accessible.
I would have to look to the attorney. I don't know if the city can actually do that.
If you can do that, you're right.
I don't think we can.
Hang on, I have
It's original platted street, so there may be something else.
I'm sorry.
I have
sir. Go ahead.
another question. This one's for Mr. Lee. I believe you've commented during a past conversation on paper streets, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
That your driveway starts on private property and then loops onto the paper street next to your house.
Correct.
And so an option, something like that would also be an option that instead of a full navigation easement from the front property to the back property, it could just be 15 feet that then hooks on, and then the city would be able to block off the start of the road without it all becoming public access. Presumably, if Mr. Lee's case is generalizable.
That doesn't take care of the safety issue, which is one of my primary concerns.
Okay. Well, I have a few more comments. The property owners have indicated that they were more than ready to pay for and pave an entire street down that paper street, which means they're willing to put the money in to get that road. They have land they could put it on. Putting it in the public right of way would presumably make it the city's responsibility to maintain, or anyone they chose to sell to in the future would not realize it is their responsibility to maintain. And they would be quite put out when they discover that they have every 15 to 20 years, they need to dump $500,000 to maintain their driveway. And it just does not make any sense from the city's point of view to put in hundreds of thousands of dollars of infrastructure to serve one lot. That one lot will never generate enough property taxes to cover the cost of that infrastructure. The rest of the city will forever subsidize that one lot that this road and these pipes are meant to serve or improve. If we made a narrower channel will flow deeper, which means it will flow faster, which means it will erode more. There's a good reason to have a wide channel, and that's to slow the erosion. But overall, I think that using a box culvert or large pipes would dramatically increase the cost of the project, reduce the capacity of the drainage channel, and ultimately, if they have the money and they're willing to pave the road, I think the best option is actually just to put it on the two lots they already own and control. Because if they do that, then it's private property and they can block anyone they want. They can put a gate across it and they don't have to worry about people driving down and turning around on their land. The road that is there that is causing this problem is by your request. We were not originally planning to put this street there, the drivable space. This was per request. We agreed to do it because they requested us to do it.
However,
I don't think
the
that's
only
correct.
reason that we even agreed to changing the lots was because we were promised.
Go to the microphone, please.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
The only reason we agreed and were open to doing a lot change with our surveyor, Paul Carey, was because we were promised that we would be able to utilize the paper street and not have to eat into our own property.
And that was before the city
Yes,
chose to do it.
many years ago.
I mean, it's the city's right away. I understand that, but I'm going to ask this, will you promise that by the city or by the survey?
Paul Carey went to the city and got approval for the lot changes, and the survey shows that the street that the second lot is on is a Geneva Street address.
Okay, so what you're saying is when you replatted the property and divided it, the city made a statement that you would be able to access it through that road? Okay.
Or are you saying that was implicit in allowing you to replat?
Yeah, that's a good point.
We wouldn't have replatted if we wouldn't have had access down that road. We would have just kept our plans the same.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dabrowski, did you have a comment other than that?
I was just gonna say, so we plan on selling the front house, so we're not gonna have that forever. We would have already sold it before this project started. We had people working on it, getting ready to sell it.
Sir.
And then this all came up and we couldn't really do it. If we sell that front lot, we no longer have control of it. If I sold it tomorrow, I still have the problem with the rear lot not getting access to it. And now, how am I gonna get my garbage picked up? I gotta take it 300 feet up the street just to get my trash picked up by the trash truck every day. Not gonna happen.
Okay.
How are you going to get it if we didn't pave this road?
Y'all would drive down it and pick it up to the street that y'all
Let me
get
go,
access.
let me go to Bob real quick.
It was 42 feet wide.
Okay.
You could drive down there and back up.
All right.
down the grass.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lee?
Yeah, we seem to have a memory problem here. We have numerous streets exactly like what he's done there, going right out this door, take a left, go down San Jacinto. On the right, there's house after house after house that was built on subdivided areas that came off of San Jacinto Street.
Yes,
And
sir.
same thing with Washington. It's exactly the same thing as what he's doing. Okay, exactly the same thing. You look on the original plat of Castroville, all those streets didn't have side streets, didn't have little cutouts, didn't have cross pieces. They went right to the river. And he stopped at San Jacinto and Washington. And then over time, people built houses back there. And they were provided city services, and they got streets, and it was beneficial to the city. And it seems like we're trying to make a unique case out of this, and it isn't. It's the same thing that we've done historically here for, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. And but once there's a street of any kind, gravel, asphalt, concrete, whatever, going on the cities, it really isn't a paper street anymore because it's accessible. So it is no longer a paper street. Anybody can go down there in a vehicle. If it was not paved at all and nobody drove down it, you could restrict vehicle traffic, but they still could walk down it. But I'm concerned about the safety. What about a round galvanized? Could you not put one of those all the way to the far left side and let it not be a drivable surface on top of it?
What we can do is have the engineers look at that. But I don't think we're talking two different issues there. We're talking a road access, and we're talking the drainage that y'all are saying, the drainage work that the city did within its own right of way has impeded your ability to access your property. That's what you're saying. And you're asking for the city to do something to address that drainage, the way it's currently designed.
Like you said, they moved a lot of dirt to make that drainage. Like if they moved 1,000-year, 500-year, 100-year floodplain dirt, water never flowed there, and now it's a river.
Okay, I got it. Mr. King?
If you don't mind, you had mentioned that there was a third option, and you never got to explain what that third option was.
Well, my third suggestion would be just to fill it back in and not spend any more money.
Like it never existed.
Like it never existed. Let's just put this
And one reason why, for instance, if the city could buy 10 feet of your property, now you have a 20-foot wide road, or even better yet, if you could put the road, as we talked earlier, private property. I live on a paper street, and there is no way to stop people from accessing the paper street. So people would have the ability to access your property all the way down to the river. And there's nothing the city can do to stop that. They do, and I don't know if it was ever actually passed, maybe it was, it says you can't drive a vehicle down there, but that doesn't stop people from walking down there. You can drive a vehicle all the way down to where it's the end of the roadway, which is where your back property is. So, but one thing, by turning it into a drainage ditch, people really aren't going to go down the drainage ditch. So in some respects, having the drainage ditch there protects the privacy of your back property. And so they would make sense then is to have some kind of a deal to where, as people suggested, Councilman Mertz, where if you could have, like Councilman Lee has, if you could have the driveway on the private driveway, those, I think they call them panhandle things, where your back property then comes up to the street, and that becomes your private driveway. So you would shave off
flag lots.
Do what?
Flag lots.
Yes, and again, that's for be discussed, and
I would be open to that.
yeah. So these are some things to discuss, because that would protect your ability to control people who could come onto your property.
And I want to really emphasize that we agree with making changes so that citizens aren't experiencing flooding. We're not opposed to that. We just want it to be done safely. Another thing that didn't get addressed, I don't think, or maybe it's still going to be addressed, and maybe that is why the road does narrow at a certain point, is the property next to ours, the fence line is over onto the city easement by 2 feet, what, a foot and a half.
The fences? Yeah.
And so I don't know if that project could have scooted over a bit and given us a wider road, I don't know.
Okay.
But it sounds like there's some options here
The
that.
ditch is a concern for me because
parking next to it, just thinking, what if it was nighttime and somebody decided to go drive down that and crashes? That's scary. That's a scary situation for the city to be in.
Sure.
So, that's all.
Okay, I think we've had a lot of discussion on this and a lot of good ideas. I'd entertain a motion on any action that city council would like to proceed with this.
I'd like to make hang on, do we have a motion?
No.
Okay, I
No,
wasn't sure if we'd
no,
open with one.
No,
from Mr.
sir, I
Lee.
don't believe so.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I move to continue with the current open drainage ditch plan on the Geneva Paper Street and waive the replat fee on a change to flag lots for these property owners.
Okay, to create a flag lot out of the back lot so they would have
David,
additional
could I ask for
access?
modification of
Yeah,
that?
please.
Could
If you
I?
give me a second first.
Okay. Okay, because I can vote against it. Okay, I'll give you a second. But then I'd ask for modification is maybe we just direct staff to do what you just suggested, because now we're forcing it to be that way. But if we direct staff to engage with the property owner to see if there's some give and take there, then they could bring it back to council for a future approval.
And the attorney's shaking his head yes on
Yep.
that one.
I'm amenable to that modification.
Now amenable to that change of your motion.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to what we just said, maintain the drainage, but entertain, work with staff to work with the folks for potential replat to create for additional access to get back from through Gentile Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you. Hopefully this will work out.
All right. Whew. All right, let's go to item D. Discuss and take appropriate action to authorize the plan and design of a new city hall building at 703 Paris, current public works site. I guess maybe missed a change on this because I was going to put this down as a discussion item because I know this is Mr. Lee has asked for this too, but I was leery or concerned about putting this on the agenda at this time until such time as we had our CPI discussion so we can decide on which way we want to do with projects. The city hall design work was previously, the funding for that was authorized by city council based on interest on some things. So it really didn't hit a budget or cost additional funds. I asked the question on where we would get the funds to doing this, and I think it's premature before city council decides on which direction we want to go. That's my opinion. Mr. Lee?
Yes, I appreciate that. You've heard me bring this up a number of times, but council's taken no position as to whether they're interested in pursuing a new city hall and the relocation of some other facilities. And I said, well, let's go ahead and force the issue, make it an agenda item, and then council can decide whether to tell me to go pack sand or they would like to have staff. Have staff look into the needs that we would have for a new city hall that would take us into the future, that would also have adequate parking, and bring that information to the CIP. Okay, because otherwise there's nothing to get it on the CIP discussion unless council decides it's worthwhile to take a look at. And so that's what I'm asking, is that council consider what the options have been offered for this particular building, understanding what our needs are going to be for the future, and decide whether they would like to have us investigate this further during our discussions about what we do in the future. That was my point.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate that, and I will assure you that this would be an item of discussion at the CIP.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that item D, discussion related to the city hall buildings and future city hall buildings be discussed at the CIP meeting.
So you could table that is tabling in the same meeting?
Actually, what the motion was as Mr. Lee brought up,
Right.
he wanted to ensure that it was an item for discussion.
Mhm.
And Mr.
Yep.
King just made the motion to make it an item for
I
discussion.
understand. I was just
CIP.
clarifying the motion
So-
for under Robert's rules. I know that there's one motion to be made, which has to do inside of a meeting. You make that motion, and that means the item has to come up inside the same meeting. There's a different motion that's made to bring it up at a future meeting. I apologize.
Tabling brings it back up in the same meeting.
Yeah.
Tabling to a specific time is a different issue. And the motion was to
Bring it up.
bring it up at a specific meeting, future meeting. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, discussion.
Okay, would you like to have a discussion, sir?
I thought we had already voted on this particular discussion in the past and
We have.
rejected the idea.
Yes.
So I'm not sure why we need to bring it up again.
Oh.
There was a past agenda item specifically about whether we wanted to proceed with renovating this city hall or investigate a new one. And I don't remember whether Mr. King was present, but I remember Mr. Marchman joining me in speaking very strongly against the idea of moving City Hall to a new property.
Well, I wasn't here because I don't recall that. And I think, as I previously stated, that I think our CIP is everything's on the table. Everything is on the table for discussion. Whether council decides to proceed with it or not, I believe that's the time for the open discussions. So if there's no further discussion, I will vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
Nay.
Okay, that passes 3-2. Did you vote?
I did.
He was nay. David and
Sheena?
I didn't, I said nay.
You said
Oh.
nay.
I said nay.
Oh, I didn't.
So I'm, okay, so what are we saying? Are we saying we're not even willing to entertain that discussion?
They're saying they're gonna stay in this building and choose one of those two options, I think, to redo it.
Yes.
Well,
Oh, well, we're, okay.
the
New
motion
City
was
Hall's
for
a
the
dead issue.
CIP.
The motion was to postpone this item, to bring it up to the CIP, and that motion failed.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, move on. No.
It's
But
good,
that's okay.
It's good
This-
to be the king.
This item is over for now. Okay. Item E, discuss take property action to authorize the installation of a soft start pump at the airport well. I know this is Mr. Lee has asked for this, Councilman Lee. Just real quick, my position is, I'd like to hear, this is more of an operational issue, I believe, than a council issue, and I would be really interested in seeing what staff's take is on this, because they have to maintain and operate this equipment. And I don't think we have a report from staff.
We do. I provided, I believe, my last staff report on December the 16th.
Okay, and they're not in favor of it, my
There was
understanding.
a write-up, yeah, and basically, I mean, just to give you kind of a analogy, if you will, that airport well is in dire need of a lot of different kinds of repairs.
Sure,
I understand the value of soft start pumps. We've talked it over with staff, but in this particular application, we are using something very similar at the well that feeds River Bluff in that area. This particular well site, it needs. There's a long list of upgrades that it needs that would be of a higher priority. The cost of this pump, you're not going to get understanding potential damage to pipes, understanding electric consumption, understanding all the other negatives that come with the type of pump that's there now. The ROI on putting this type of pump in and the cost associated with that, you won't ever see that return. And it's staff and our engineers have both said that would be a waste of money. Wouldn't be the first time someone goes and wastes money, right? So if y'all want to waste the money, that's fine. But our opinion is this would be a waste of money. We are pursuing understand that our goal is to eliminate this well site as a well site for potable water in the future. Our goal is to be able to tie in the Medina Valley well site as we see development in that area so that all future facilities would be fed off the Medina Valley well site. And we would accomplish that by interconnecting this well with that well, and then running feeder lines off of it. That's the long-term goal.
The airport well, I'm going to give you really quick. The airport well is unique in the fact that it's listed as a public water supply well, and it's also used for irrigation. So as a public water supply well, it has to meet certain drinking water standards. It has samples taken on it every month for bacteria analysis to make sure that it's safe for drinking. As an irrigation, it just flows into an open channel or an open irrigation system. So as a straight up irrigation, in my opinion, working with water systems, as a straight up irrigation, the soft start or variable frequency drives, slow start time, there's not a problem because you're not an instant on with pressures and things like that. You're not pushing against the head pressure. So it may be a good thing. But again, it's a return on investment on what it costs, because even the information provided, there's electronics, there's other things that have to be added, and I don't know. As far as the public water aspects on that, because of the way it's used, this type of starts would not be detrimental because it pumps into a ground storage tank. It doesn't push against the system pressure, unlike the other wells we have in town that push against system pressure. So it could be a candidate for those, but I would really rely more on operations input than our just input up here. That's my opinion.
I agree with your opinion.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lee, did you want to make
Yeah,
comments?
since it's my item, is it okay if I speak,
Sure you
sir?
can. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Well, you've read the material I provided you about the benefits of a soft start. I guess we can throw all that experience out the window. I'm obviously being facetious, but our irrigator uses them on the other wells. And you, Mayor, told me other people around here use that piece of equipment on their wells because it reduces maintenance, it reduces system stress, and will basically give you longer service life out of your equipment. And so Mr. Dixon, I believe, had said something in the $3,000 or $4,000 price range for the stuff. I don't consider that to be very expensive, since you want to spend $6,000 to have somebody sit in a room and tell us how to talk to one another.
I'd have to pull up that email. It wasn't 3 or 4. I thought it was 18,000.
No, sir. The figure you sent me was about $3,000. Well, even 18. I'm asking us to look into it. I asked for a hearing on the issue, and I'm getting it. If you decide you don't want to do it, then you decide you don't want to do it. I think the information that's provided to you speaks for itself. It is a preventive maintenance issue. It doesn't hurt the well system as much as the people at the ball field use up that little cistern. It turns back on, turn up the cistern, turns back on. But if council's decision is to let it go to a future date, then okay.
Mr. Murs?
I do not have a strong opinion on this item.
Mr. Marchman?
No, sir. Okay.
Ms. Martinez?
This could be another item for CIP. I mean, if we need a lot of work done on this well, that could be a possible listing of stuff that needs to be done on this well for a CIP project. I mean, it can go either way if that well needs that much work. And
Still functioning. It couldn't be that bad.
so it could go either way. So that's how I feel about it.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir, please. Yes, sir.
I guess it sounds like staff has looked at this and has made an evaluation, and they've talked to our engineers about it. And everything it's a return on investment and so forth. But if based on their analysis of this, and they're telling us they really don't see a need to do this at this time, then I'm going to bow to the people that are more knowledgeable about this than I am, because I'm really not that knowledgeable. So we hire these people, we trust them to not lead us astray. So,
And it sounds like a guy who's in the waterworks business is agreeing with staff in this issue. So I'm not in favor of authorizing, forcing them to go in and make this change.
Okay, did anybody make a motion, or we just want to let this lie on the table?
I think. Motion?
Motion? Okay, well, we're just gonna move on. Thank you very much. Next item, we're gonna go to item F. Discuss and take appropriate action to authorize the removal of trees in front of City Hall at 1209 Fiorella Street. Ms. Garrett, thank you. Okay, if anybody, while personally, and Mr. Lee brought this up, and thank you, Mr. Lee, but I just want to make a couple of comments first. The intent was well. They looked great when they were small. Years ago, if anybody takes the time to look at them, you can see where they were cut, and the stumps are all over the place, and it's kind of like the uncontrolled tree that sprouted out from there. I personally believe that it would enhance the appearance of this building if we did, and also send our contribution message to our community if we xeriscape those areas. Okay, because it shows our commitment to water conservation. But that's my opinion. Mr. Lee?
Yes, sir. It would be great if I could get at least one win tonight out of 4 or 5. I should have had an item on the agenda. We don't have any Sunday meetings, and then I could have 2. But anyway, you were provided pictures, and it's interesting. You see, everybody got one of these?
Yes.
These 2? Okay. And I got this morning from Adriana, who is of course, the chairman of the park board. I did not ask her for it. I didn't know it was coming. And she said she had done this last year when they were looking at the nasty situation with the trees out in front of the building and wanted to know what it looked like without them. And so I asked her for her personal opinion, and she chimed in just like Ms. Garrett did. Get rid of the damn thing. They're just a mess. And if you want to look at maybe putting something that's higher and less maintenance intensive off to the sides, then consider that in the future.
And can I admit to something? I told you about it.
Yes.
So Miss Priscilla Garrett approached me, I don't know, in 2021, two weeks after I was hired. I don't know. But and several times since then about taking those trees out. And my answer to her was pretty consistent because I'm chicken. I said, I will not remove those trees. But if you will put together as the president of the garden club, the president and sole member, and bring that to council as a recommendation, I'd be happy to hand carry that recommendation and back you up and say those need to come down. But I will not unilaterally take out those trees because I know as sure as I do, someone's going to complain. So I just want to be clear. I was looking for someone to blame, not myself. I appreciate y'all taking this up. I support the decision you make.
Well, and just for the record, Scott, when we first discussed it, the first thing I thought of is, are there any members of the garden club still with us? And if they are, what is their recommendation?
And that would be
fully support that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That takes care of it.
Another thing is, you have to know that when it wasn't the garden club that ever suggested cutting off those types of, that came from stacks and stuff.
Well,
And it got done, and there was a lot of backlash from people. And you will have to expect from some maybe of the older people in town that you may get some verbal backlash if you decide to take them off. But none of them ever stepped forward to help take care of it. And this would take another little, although it would be a little burden eventually off of the park guys who are trying anyway between all 5 parks that they go out and work in. And I also, as a side thing, I was telling Deborah about that today. The last time I had a conversation with my masters out front when we talked about the trees, the masters planted those trees, Bruce, 40 years ago or something. They were the ones who planted the trees there. And he said he'd be happy to come take them out for us. So I don't know if he was serious or not, but it might be a way to get it taken out cheaply. That's a way to do it.
Oh, well, I also talked to the parks folks, the ones that do the grounds maintenance around here, and it was just say the word. We've been wanting to do it for a long time, but again, it's as Scott said, I know there's some people that will make some issues, but if you just take the time to stand across the street and look at the front of this building, they literally take away from the building more than add to it.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, sir, please.
Wait, okay, sorry, I can discuss afterwards.
I'd like to make a motion that the trees be removed and that those two small areas where the trees are, that a consideration by staff to turn that into a
Zero escape.
Zero escape
area. And
Little steps.
That could be.
Evening?
No, I wouldn't. I'd just say zero escape.
Motion made and second to remove the trees and turn those areas into a zero escape area. Is there a second?
I'll second. David can have that one.
We'll give that
Oh,
one
I
to
didn't
Mr.
try.
Lee.
Oh.
We'll give that
That
one
was
to
Councilman
Mr.
Lee.
Councilman Lee.
Lee, and it is his item, and he's looking for a win.
Okay.
Give that to Councilman Lee. Okay, is there discussion, sir?
I do have a small amount of discussion.
Yes, sir.
I like the trees. I do think they could use a trim. But one, they're a little bit of shade on our many sunny days. Two, it takes a lot longer to grow a tree than to cut one down. And three, if you drive by my house or look at my head, you will notice that I have a higher tolerance than most for shagginess. So I understand, but I personally never want to cut down a tree unless it's basically already dead, which again, you will see if you drive past my house.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I got a couple.
Yes,
Sorry.
sir. Yes, sir.
I agree with the zero escape. I think stuff like crushed granite and indigenous plants, if you want to weed because of the drought that we're in, because so many people are moving here and you see them planting their stuff, there's just no way it can survive with that. St. Augustine grass, for example, stuff like that. So I concur with what you said, but going forward, that's my two cents.
Okay, any other comments?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So, in regards to the shade, if we have Fiorella Friday and everything, maybe if we do a zero scape, maybe put a couple of benches out there and get the shade canopy thingies. That way people could sit outside and enjoy. Just something to think out down the road. Because since that is part of Fiorella Friday.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to remove the trees and basically establish zero escape areas in those areas. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, let's move on to item G. Consider and take appropriate action on adopting an ordinance for a municipal election for Saturday, May 2nd, 2026 for the city of Castroville, establishing the procedure for the general municipal election for the purpose of electing the positions of council members for District 3, District 4, and District 5 for 2-year terms, and designating the location of the polling place and making provisions for the conduct of the election. Okay, conducting the election. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I'd like to adopt an ordinance calling the 2026 general election to be held on May 2nd, 2026 for the council seats for District 3, 4, and 5, designating the polling place, establish the procedure for the general election, and making provisions for the conduct of the election.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. So we're going to have any discussion on this item? Deborah, did you have anything you wanted to add to this?
No, this is an annual that we have to do, and also, I'm sorry?
Cost of election. I think we should
Well,
bring that up.
not
Go
yet.
ahead. We should.
We will have a contract next month,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
the next meeting with the county.
Okay.
Depending on, we'll talk, it's not really in this.
I know.
We do a joint election with the school. At the time when I talked with Mr. Torres over there, he said he was still reaching out to the school to make sure they were having the election. I'd be surprised if they didn't. We shared the cost.
Okay.
If not, it could go over our budget of $10,000 that we have.
Have we given any, and I'm going to ask this question,
Mhm.
and it's more just for the attorney also. Has the city given any consideration, or can a general law city give, I know they can because others have, to moving our election to a general election date in November? So that way
Right.
it's,
Oh, like San Antonio just did?
Well,
yes, to save the cost of running an election.
well, we would have to, we'd have to go back and look at the deadline because there is deadlines to be
December
able to move it.
31st, I believe it was.
I brought that up in the past, years back, because I think we would definitely have a better turnout because you're having a joint election with the county, school,
Right.
whoever's doing it. And I think they do have a better turnout because they're coming out for something else too.
I know some communities, Natalia,
Yes,
what have you, have
yes.
moved to the November election.
I do think
was
that's
curious.
a very good idea, but it
Just
would
a
be up
thought.
to y'all.
That's a future discussion item.
Pardon?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
too late for this cycle, but it's
Yeah.
just a future discussion.
We could look at it, definitely.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Thank you, Deborah. Any other discussion?
I assume we cannot comment on the idea of moving the election.
That's not an
That's not on
agenda
the
item.
agenda
I
right
just
now.
wanted to plant a seed.
Yeah.
That's all.
Right. Then I only have one comment,
Yes, sir.
which is that I'm a little offended that Sheena made the motion and Houston seconded when the other three of us were up.
But you can vote.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor for the election. Any, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion carries.
And just one
Yes, ma'am.
note. I do have the packets ready.
Okay.
They are online. The whole packet is online. And so anybody that wishes to take it off, the time frame of accepting applications for anyone, including current, is starting tomorrow through February the 13th at 5 p.m.
Through Friday the 13th, February the 13th.
Yeah, I didn't think about
Yeah,
Friday.
that's when,
but
that's
by
when
5,
it closes.
5 p.m.
Okay.
So
All right.
spread the word.
So we go from there.
Easy to find on the website?
Yes, on the very front of the website, we do have at the very bottom of it, it says in the know and different things, it says election. You click on that and it automatically takes you to the page. It's under me, but it takes you to elections and it tells you about the qualifications as far as being a resident. It also has just the application, or on the right-hand side, it says packet and application, and that's what the best thing to do. Or we have hard copies, either one.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to item 9, City Administrator's Report. Before I'm not trying to keep pushing too much, but I know I have your paper and you guys also asked for 9A on drainage projects. Did you want to make any other comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move to the City Administrator's Report. Mr. Dixon?
Yes, and I recognize the time is now 8:16, and I will not take more than 10 minutes. So you can finish by 8:30, Mayor.
Well, I was
If you
hoping
so
to be
choose.
earlier.
I was going for 8.
It will not be my fault. A couple of things. Not to reopen the item, but I was wrong, and you were wrong. It was $7,000 for the soft start pump that I was given. That was the approximate cost, but that did not include electrical. So you can make that like closer to 10. Anyway, I just wanted to correct the record. Drainage. A couple of things. The Garza Creek, that should be issued to begin taking bids next week. It'll run for a couple of weeks. We'll put it on CivCast. Those will be due in March. And then they'll come to council at either the first or second meeting in March for you all to award a construction contract for Garza Creek. That's the goal. The BMA trail access, I think we've had some success there. I wanted to just give you, this is hot off the presses. Jonah Chang, our Parks Director, represented the city again, and he's done an excellent job representing the city at the BMA.
Did BMA have a meeting?
They did on Monday, and we were on the agenda, and they did not say no, which is a big thing. I'm just going to read directly from his email. I didn't ask his permission, but I assume since he sent it out to like the world, it's okay. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and Friends of Castroville Regional Park on VCC. I am pleased to inform you that the BMA Board of Directors were open and willing to discuss a new updated interlocal agreement. They authorized their staff and attorney to begin reviewing the updated interlocal agreement and to work together to come up with an implementation plan. There are a few items they would like to see in the updated agreement attached. And so he does have a template. I believe, Dan, that's been shared with you already. But these are the list of items. Gate installation by professionals to include keypads versus remotes. So they want keypad entrance. Keep a shorter term length of 1 year that is automatically renewed unless 60 days written notice is given to either organization for termination. Notify BMA staff board about any repairs or maintenance being done on the canal with city equipment and vehicles. Routine maintenance observation may not require a notice to BMA. Add pictures and examples, trail barrier signage, interpretive panels, map outlining city trails, and BMA canal, et cetera. Apparently those were up there at one point in time, according to Helen, but they were removed because of vandalism. So that's something vandalism has been a concern for the BMA and for us. It's a mutual concern. It's something we're just both going to have to try and address as best we can. He said, I believe this is a great step forward, and I look forward to the continued partnership between the city of Castroville and BMA. And then the one other item that he called me about was they would also like us to pay for the attorney fees for their review of the document. Of all the costs that were listed, that's probably the smallest cost, frankly. So I don't think there's an issue there. But bottom line, we are working on interlocal. This is going to lead to my next issue or next comment. That'll be the
Federal holiday.
But the issue is we are both out Wednesday and Thursday. I'm here on Friday. And
Okay.
You're
come,
late Friday.
right,
Okay.
come back on Friday. So we have to get it done Tuesday. So we're gonna do our best to get it done on Tuesday. So I'm making you all council aware of that. If you have items for this next agenda, we need to get those by the end of this week if at all possible, so we can get them in the packet on Tuesday. The other thing, just a couple other things to mention. Streets maintenance and paving plan prior to the CIP, if you'll review what was in the backup materials, if you'll look at those, because we'll definitely be discussing those at that CIP meeting. The community center construction, as Councilman Lee guessed, or he said, probably not the good date. He was absolutely right. We've had rain delays and because of the government shutdown, those have not been figured into my last report to you on December 16th. I gave you like a end of February closing. It is not going to be February when that building is delivered, unfortunately. Contractually, they're allowed to move that date, and that'll be the first week in May. Now they are working to get it done sooner, but contractually they'll be obligated to finish it the first week in May. Lions Park splash pad. Look at the pictures. I gave you a couple of pictures of what we're looking at there. It's pretty clear that the compaction wasn't necessary and there was a leak causing a major failing. The good news is I believe that it's repairable. We're in the process of repairing it now. We don't think we're going to have to re-pour the slab or any of that. We'll be able to use flowable fill or some other method to shore it up and then just re-pour that section. So that's good. So we hope to have that back in operation by this summer, by the time people are ready to use it. Facility council workshop. The dates are February 27th and 28th. That's what we'd like to target, Mayor, in talking to the facilitator. That also gets us away. We could either do it that weekend or the prior weekend. That prior weekend's a little bit problematic because that's normally when we'd be getting packets out. And so we try to stay away from those weekends if all possible. So the idea is the 27th is a Friday. The 28th is a Saturday. In speaking with the facilitator, Kathy, she would just need to know from you, Mayor, and really from council, what is the timing? I told her more than likely not before 11 o'clock on Friday and certainly not after 5, probably done by 4 on Friday. It'd be an afternoon. And then Saturday, kind of same thing, wouldn't start before 9 a.m., would be done by 1 p.m. kind of thing.
Well, I'm out at 5 o'clock. Let's get this over with.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So, but we just need to get an idea from you of what that time frame looks like. Fine. And we need to coordinate with the folks up here. We didn't check with all of you, did check with David because of his work arrangements and his family and other issues. And I'm going to get to something.
I didn't mean to leave you out, Sheena, but I wanted to make sure that it didn't interfere because David drives to San Antonio. Yeah. So I wanted to try to work more with his schedule.
That's fine.
So we'll send an email out with these dates and just, if you'll please, I'll probably just send a calendar invite, frankly. And then if you'll kind of give me an idea of what the time frame is you're looking for both days, I'll put them on the calendar. I'll invite you all. If you'll please respond to that, so we know that you're.
I can tell you at 9 o'clock on Saturday, there's a religious thing at St. Louis Church, First Communion.
Okay.
And I'll be going to that, so I can show up late if you start at.
Well, we can adjust the start date. Is that from 9 to 10?
10 o'clock would be
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind, since you're on that subject, telling me exactly what it is we're trying to get out of this?
I will send I don't want to get into that right now because in part we'll send that as part of what the mayor's going to send. But this really is an opportunity for the mayor to get the new council and existing council, get feedback and get everybody on the same page. That's the short story of it. But this is my time. It's 8:24 and I want to get out by 8:30. Review attached. Respectfully, I will get you that information that the mayor.
We'll get that more information. We've gone back and forth on some of that stuff.
Next item was, I'm not going in order. I'm going in order, but I'm not talking about every single item. Flat Creek Water Plan. The elevated storage tank really is the solution. I wrote up a little about what they're seeking to do. I've had some further discussion with the developer. We were at the same meeting on this past Friday, and I'm working diligently with Dan and Mary with P3 to figure out how to pay for that elevated storage. And in my mind, the only way that a project that big can be paid for without becoming a risk to the current ratepayers is to look at a tax-funded payment of some kind that is tied to that area, not to the entire city. So that would be a TERS or a PIT. Those are the two methods. So I have challenged our professional staff that's working with us to help me come up with a solution, including Samco. So we're circling wagons. We're going to put something together, but ultimately we need to look at that elevated storage tank, and we'll talk more about that at the CIP meeting, which we're planning for January the 29th.
Okay.
That is, I believe, Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
again, I think that David indicated that might work for him. So really it's just about whether the rest of you can make it. And again, Mayor, I'll need you to tell me the time frame for the 29th.
Where would it be? Here? Or?
Here
Here.
during the day with staff involvement. And, we'd like to make it a more or less all day thing, start no later than 10 a.m.
Okay.
and no later than 4 p.m. So like a 10 to 4 type thing. We'd feed lunch.
Yep.
But
Those are good numbers for me, 10 to 4, because that way, because I want to go through it and have time to do that and really accomplish some things, not just in here and blow smoke. We want to really go in here, get in depth, and make some hard decisions.
Well, I'm pretty excited because I've got I hope we're going to give you a format that you'll be able to get a lot done. So we're working on that. Multimodal planning effort. I'm just going to mention that there's a public meeting that you all have been advised of that will be called for February the 2nd. That's a Monday from 5 to 7 p.m. That'll be here, I believe. And it's just an opportunity to provide an update. There's more about that in your emails if you go look for that. Light Up Castroville, we had the results. I'm not going to read them to you, but they're in there because I don't have the names here. But we had a commercial winner and a residential winner and 2 runner-ups in both categories. There are only 3 commercial entrants, so if you're a commercial entrant, you are guaranteed to win because we have a first, second, and third place.
Well, we hope to get that out earlier this next year.
Understood.
Bud Barnes is my neighbor around the corner.
Warrant roundup. I also made a comment of that. If anybody has any outstanding warrants in the city of Castroville, get them taken care of because we will arrest you in February if you don't.
Good.
MLK on Monday. Just a reminder, we do have a holiday this coming Monday, so the offices will be closed. Cowboy breakfast next Friday here. So for council, if y'all want to show up bright and early, City Hall. And I believe y'all got a notice about that on ADP.
Yep.
Alan got a notice, I was told. And if you saw the picture, I'm wearing a cowboy hat. That I did never wore, and I didn't agree to.
8:30, I believe.
I don't. It should be in your ADP notice, but I don't remember. I think if you show up at 7:30, there'll be food already ready. Generally, we start pretty early. And then last, but definitely not least, congratulations to the Murs family. We are so very, very happy for you, and look forward to some sleepless nights in the future.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcoming our newest Castroville resident. That's all I have, Mayor.
I just want to add one thing to you, and I just got this afternoon, so you know. on the CPS issues. I've reached out to them. They've reached out to me.
Great.
They're trying to check everybody's schedules. I told them that you and I would attend a meeting at their chosen location, and I would buy them breakfast or lunch. So we
That's
could
wonderful.
sit there and have this discussion,
All
open
right.
discussion, to hopefully move towards a resolution.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, I
Good
just want to
job.
let you know.
Thank
We're
you.
working on that. And for y'all that don't know, I'm fully retired now from my other job, so I'm fully here for anybody that needs something. I think I've spent more time in the last week than I spent in the last 6 months here at City Hall, so working together with everyone. So that's
He gets here early. And
Yeah.
generally, before I go to the gym in the morning, I get here by 9.
And before he wakes up, I've got half the day
That's
gone.
I'm up at 4:45.
Okay, well, all right, and remind everybody on the 27th in the morning, 9 a.m., we have a Go Medina, City of Castroville is sponsoring it up at Hillside, the Go Medina meeting. Am I correct in it, the way I said that?
Yes.
Yes,
And it's January 27th.
it's January 27th. Did I say February?
No.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying it loud.
It's January 27th at the the
Hillside.
Hillside Boutique. I will ask Deborah to post an agenda just as courtesy that there may be a quorum present. We're not going to do business, just so everybody knows that. So everybody's invited to participate in that.
I'll send out a calendar invite for you.
Yes, because that's a very important issue. It helps with economic development for all of us. Okay? Thank you. If there's no other discussion, excuse me, let's move on to new agenda items. Does anybody have anything, or would they like to just submit those and move forward?
Yes, I'd like to put all of my failed ones back on next time, so you can reconsider your bad decisions.
Thank you very much. Please let Scott know and myself
I will
know.
ask about this, sir.
Yeah,
I sent
sure.
this picture to everybody, should have seen that one. And maybe it's just something you can get with me about exactly how much enforceability do we have for things like this and many others in the city that look like they ought to be condemned.
Well,
And,
Mr. Lee, I can help address that
it doesn't have to be an agenda, but I would like, or maybe
No.
it should be, whether we need to tighten up the rules.
I have asked Scott and we specifically, because of the time frame, put it on the next agenda. I've asked for a presentation from code enforcement. I'd like to see all the code enforcement officers here in a presentation, kind of like what we did before, what it is, what their mission is, how we approach that and address those and follow-ups. And I've also asked for a presentation from Brianna on building permits and what the process is and procedures. So if nothing else, to keep us informed so we know, and to inform the public through the live streaming of what these policies and procedures are. It's a good thing once in a while to remind everybody where we're at. So those are already proposed for the agenda, sir.
Thank you.
If there's anything else, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Got a chainsaw.
What?
Motion is adjourned. The
What
meeting is
time?
adjourned at
Let me get that chainsaw.
8:32 p.m. Thank you.